This is Paxton Schulte, and you are listening to the Sheriff's Podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to a very exclusive episode of The Sheriff. Guys, today I have a real treat for us because today is a celebration. We have the Newfoundland Royal Hockey family with us today, ladies and gentlemen. This is a celebration of a great father-son story. Now, as a sport, I find that hockey needs to celebrate its history. Now, ladies and gentlemen, a huge part of history is the families that have played the game. Now, one of the most beautiful sights to me is a great father-son duo. When a son looks up to his father and labels his father as his hero, the coolest thing to me is to see that son follow in his father's footsteps, especially when it comes to professional hockey. Ladies and gentlemen, today I have the coolest father-son hockey duo that I have ever met. Without further ado, Terry Ryan Sr. and Terry Ryan Jr. How are you guys doing today, my friends?
Thanks a lot, Sheriff. I appreciate you having me on again, Senior.
Absolutely, Sheriff. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, as you can see, guys, I'm very hyper. I'm very nervous. It is my first time with two guests. I said the royal family of Newfoundland. Now, right off the top, what were you guys thinking when you heard me say those words? I want to hear from Senior first.
Yeah, that's a real compliment, and it's well taken.
Be honest.
But it's, I can't think of any other hockey family here offhand that whereby the father and son were both drafted and both played in the bigs. I can't think of one. We've had guys playing the NHL, but certainly at this point, I can't think of them having a son that also played.
The closest thing, and I don't want to forget anybody because, it often happens you have a brain cramp, but Andrew McKim played. Andrew McKim played a little bit in Boston, and he's got a son now, Matt, who's playing University of Anchorage. Is it? The Alaskan, University of Anchorage. Yeah. No, University of Alaska.
That's it. That's what
it's in Fairbanks. Yeah. So they're coming up. Who knows where Matty's career will go? But there's been a few. God, I haven't thought about it. There's not many. Donnie House and Johnny. Johnny played CIAU, but yeah, you're right. We might be the only two that played pro.
I'm pretty sure of that.
Mm.
Well, I mean, I feel blessed to have you guys on my show, but I'll be honest with you guys. I think that there's a few different father-son combos that have played at the level that you guys have played, but none of them have the character that you guys have. I can't get over it. Like Terry, when I met you, I knew about you before, but when I met you, I'm like, wow, now I'm really seeing how big a character can really be. You know what I mean? Now I'm starting to read your books. I'm listening to your podcasts on a weekly basis. I'm a big fan, bro, because of your character. It's because of your character. I'll be honest. And Senior, when I met this guy, I really started looking you up. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this is where he gets it from. His pops. So before, we're going to have an interesting episode here, guys. Senior, I want to go over your career. Terry, we're going to kick you out for a little bit because it's going to be Senior time. But I want to talk about, while you're still here, Terry, humor and character. It's got to run in the family. Senior, where did you get this from, brother?
Well, I learned at a young age that, like Mom always said, people that you build up in your mind to be your idols or whatever. And like Mom always said, but Terry, don't forget, they go to the washroom just like you. And I learned that it doesn't bother me. I could meet anyone and I could respect them for what, if they've really achieved in entertainment or sports, I could really respect them. But other than that, they'd be just a normal person to me, either male or female. They'd be like, hey, wait a minute, you're lucky enough and good enough to achieve the levels that you did, and I really respect that. Other than that, I mean, I'm not going to get up and, go out and kiss your ass or whatever. I mean, you're like, I respect you for what you are, but, that's what, that's what I carry through life. And I ended up meeting a number of, Elvis or
he
number of them.
Dad, he asked, the question was, I'm going to go upstairs. So,
well, you know me, Terry.
The question was, I know, but you didn't answer the question. You started saying that your answer was, how do you feel around celebrities? He said, how does humor run in the family? Well, so I will tell you what I think.
It came from that. What Mom gave me was that sense. In other words, don't take anyone.
Yeah, true, I guess. If that's, I consider that more of a lesson in humility. But hey, we can agree to disagree. What I think, in Newfoundland, a lot of people see in the hockey world, even though we have a few up there now, and we got Alex Newhook's coming up, and Dawson Mercer, and and others, but they're the two prominent NHL players now in their first seasons, and so you get little glimpses of Newfoundland, but what you don't realize, Dawson's a good example. He's from out around where Danny Cleary's from, so a lot of families.
Okay.
And St. John's is the oldest city in North America. Newfoundland is, parts of Newfoundland go way back. So, I mean, with European settlers, we could get into the other history, but I'm just saying, when they decided, our ancestors, mine, came over here from Ireland, England, Scotland, for the most part, from that area of the world, with no electricity and small towns, it was little fishing towns. So I believe that you need to entertain yourself. How are you going to do that? So there's this real sense of togetherness, bonding, why? But with the Newfoundlanders that say, well, I don't play an instrument, and then you'll go in there, or I'm not a performer, and you'll go in and they're playing the guitar and they're singing anything from Bruce Springsteen to Great Big Sea. They'll say, I don't perform, and they'll grab the mic at every party and you're doing stand-up is what you're doing. So every family might say that in Newfoundland. Now, I don't think ours is so different. I think what people are seeing is that we're so immersed in hockey because my dad, and again, I see this because you wouldn't see it from your perspective. But when I was a kid, my dad came home from pro hockey, but he still played and coached senior hockey. So there would be get-togethers here in this room that you're in on Friday night. And I guess guys rib each other, right? And a lot of hockey. So this was like a hockey dressing room. And I'm 5, 6, up to 14 years old before I leave. And all the boys hung out here. So it wasn't even just senior. It was all the players on the team. And, you'd see. So I identified with the humor guys because that's what I was often nervous, an only child, especially going. So when I went away to play in Quesnel, what did I reach for? Who were the guys that always seemed to have, it was the humor, right? Who were the guys that were always respected that were, and I realized that's why I went out as well. Again, I'll go off topic a bit, but I realized be a good guy in the room and then just stand
That's okay.
up. So be an underdog. People don't care. They don't care if I lose the fight, but they care that I get in it and I stick up for them. And by extension, you become the guy doing the tunes. Humor becomes a thing. And I don't know, Dad, but you often deal with things after the initial emotion with humor. And I'm like that. I'm the kind of guy who will laugh at it.
I think that comes with an Irish background too.
Definitely, yeah.
Like I did a course at university once, and it was on anthropology course actually, but the course involved your family tree. So I traced back as far as I could go, and I found out that the Ryans came over from Tipperary, Ireland in 1827, settled in a little fishing St. Joseph Salmonier about 45 minutes from here, 200 people, and my great whatever, they were always fishermen and fisher people. And then my dad happened to leave when he was like 18 or 19, and that's how I ended up growing up in Grand Falls. How he got to Grand Falls, I really don't know. I never really said. Dad is gone now, but he ended up in Grand Falls marrying my mother, who was from Grand Falls, and that's why I was raised in Grand Falls. But Dad had a real good sense of humor too.
All your family does. Don't talk and all. They're all based on that. And the more I think about it, if you were to go to the little pubs and the Legion and like little places like Arnold's Cove and Joe Betts Farm and Fogo, when you go to these places, the gathering places are like a hockey dressing room, and that everybody ribs each other. Comedy's a big part of it. What's here today, by Betsy? What's Terry up to now? What do we got, a new girlfriend, do we? Right, and then it goes, and everybody will rib each other. So you're coming at it from a community. Whereas if again, nothing against it. Toronto's my favorite big city in the world because it's multicultural. There's so much to do. But it would be totally different if I'm on Queen Street West in an apartment and I wake up and go down to the coffee shop. It becomes a little bit, right? I'm not going to say you're on edge, but not fear physically, but just I'm kind of nervous to talk to people. I don't know what they're going to think. Do they even care what I got to say? Here, it's completely different. Again, it's like a big Irish pub. The whole city, the whole province. Anyway, but to answer your question, I would think that has a lot to do with it. My dad and I have a platform, and we are unique, but the platform helps. If you were to see a lot of people around here, you would see that a lot of them live the same. Although I don't think they all have these big collections of hockey things, and I don't think they have the stories in the world traveling that we've done, but it's certainly not as unique as you think.
I think that it's also helped you guys both in hockey as well, right? Because trust me, we use humor, I find, as athletes to deal with kind of like the shittier parts of the game, like losses, injuries, setbacks with the team. You know what I mean? So I think you guys would have been the guys on the team to kind of start that movement of using humor to get back into a good place. And that's why you guys both played and were respected for so long, right?
You're right, and
yeah, we were always, at least I know Terry was, and I certainly was, always. I was always like my teammates always liked me.
But think about this, Senior. We also, you see, not just being in Newfoundland, but you guys are seeing it. Most people listening are thinking from a perspective wherever you played, wherever. Oh, I'm from Flin Flon. I'll go try out in Brandon. Oh, I'm from Oshawa, I'm from New Liskeard. I'll try out in the OHL in Oshawa. For us, it's a decision. Everybody who leaves home leaves. You're gone, and you're an outlier because wherever you go, I was the only Newfoundlander, not on my team in the Western Hockey League.
Oh, yes.
I was the only person from Eastern Canada in the Western Hockey League. When I went to Montreal, not just a guy we're picking from the West. This guy's from Newfoundland. He's he was unique before he went to the West. Now we're picking him back. He was the same. He left to go to Ontario. And
when I went to Ontario, well, I went a long time ago, when I was 69.
No.
And there was, two of my buddies who were really good hockey players too, ended up going to the Ottawa 67s. And so there was three of us, and we were the only three in the whole of the OHA and OHL now.
And you each have to go. What I mean too is not just leaving home. I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody. No. Like if I'm here, I would have known who Jerome McGinley was. He's one of the best players my age group. But I'm in Newfoundland. I don't know. Yeah. So I went out there. So when you're talking about humor and I guess easygoing and loose attitude, that's the way I chose to lead because I honestly felt alienated. I felt. I mean, I probably would naturally go that way anyway, but I really don't know because when we leave, we're automatically trying to fit in. And you can ask any Newfoundlander that. Ask Danny Cleary, ask Harold Druken, ask Adam Party, right down to New Hook. Yeah. The first thing is, okay, I got to fit in with these guys. And it's a little bit more of a dance than it is for everybody else because you're all from likely whatever league you're going. I guess you could compare it to a European.
Oh, yeah.
But I think there's even more because people can identify, you're from Finland. You're part of that program. You play World Juniors. Where you from Newfoundland. And you're playing in the OHL or the Western League, you're just.
And they don't, people then and now, probably they know more now because of the internet and whatever, but I know when I went, like I didn't know not a soul. I'd never been outside of Newfoundland to play hockey. And I remember getting laughed at. I had to persevere because, I wanted to be a hockey player. And even Terry, and that's, 40, 50 years late, whenever, when he went out west, they just didn't know anything about Newfoundland. They really, Terry could have convinced them. As a matter of fact, he came home one day from
my
school,
social studies teacher.
And he convinced them that he lived in an igloo.
They believed it.
And how did you become so good playing hockey? And we used to go on the ice floes, and Terry was ribbing them along, and the guy just believed it.
He believed it. Geography/social studies teacher in Tri-Cities, Washington. And he told me, he said, wow, you're from, he goes, how do you say, Newfoundland? I said, well, Newfoundland. And I don't even know if he read the word, because he said, oh, you speak great English.
Yeah.
And I went, what?
I had that too.
First of all, my English must sound terrible to you with a Newfoundland accent, but he was saying, oh, you're trying. He thought I was like Scandinavian or something, and he was wild. I said, do you even know? You know, I'm 5 hours south of Canada here. Now, again, that's in its own package. But what I mean is, you know, there's always that level of alienation. And to me, the only way to deal with a lot, you got to be humble. If you just keep telling everybody that you're going to go out and score 50 goals and you're going to do this and that, and even if you're not cocky, you're confident, but if you don't take time to breathe and laugh, and, you know, at any point, ask BJ Young, he's 6 feet under. You could break your foot and go, well, geez, I didn't have 50. I had 15. Hopefully I get a scholarship to Acadia. It can change overnight. My big year was my draft year. What if I break my leg at the beginning of that year? I'm the exact same player, but I go in the 7th round. You don't know where it's. So I always, and that used to just break. I used to be like, oh my God, like I went 3rd in the league, but, you know, I got to keep getting stats, and it was too much to take if I didn't deal with it that way. And I find it gets easier out there. Everybody says confidence on the ice. I got to have confidence as a person first, or I go down the ice and I'm lost. You know what I mean, Sheriff? Like, you got to have that confidence, whether you're fighting or you're playing or you need it from the boys or what. You get traded like 4 times in the O. I mean, each time how did you deal with it? You fought somebody and you joked around with the boys, right?
Exactly. No, I could exactly. I couldn't even thought of a better example than that. But now, before you go, here's one little thing that I got to get you guys together with, a question that I have. Now, Senior, I in my research before the show, I know you just mentioned it a little while ago, but I heard in my research from an interview, I believe on your show last week, Tales with TR, that you had never left Newfoundland when you went to Hamilton, right? So you went through that. Now, your son, 14 years old.
Yes.
This guy has an opportunity to play for this incredible team, the Millionaires, right? At 14 years old.
Yeah.
So, like, how did you kind of help him prepare for that with your experience that you had 20 years before?
Well, to bring up basically, to go over, it was almost a rubber stamp of my life, except I left at 16 and he was 14.
Yeah.
He was better. But, you know, all you can do, the player has still got to do it. The player still's got to want to play. You know the pitfalls. There's at some point someone's going to sucker you. At some point, you're going to maybe, hopefully become better and get a bit of notoriety, and you got to deal with that, especially if you become, you know, the draft's coming up in your name. You know, you don't get too big ahead. Keep a level. He was getting his schooling, so he was going to school, and prepare yourself that you're going to be going down to Tri-City when you're 16, because you couldn't play in the WHL then until you were 16, and you're going to be
in the Q or the O.
Yeah, I just didn't want to go to the Q. I was going to go to the O. I was going to go to Cambridge first and then make my way.
Cambridge.
At the time, and it's not a slap in the face. The Q changed a lot when the Atlantic teams came in. Crosby, players like that, McKinnon. I mean, come on. Now you could make an argument. It's, you know, from year to year, it's often the best league.
Oh,
but at the time,
it's been the best league.
Yeah,
for a while.
At the time, it wasn't close. Like,
no,
don't go to the Q. You're not going to, you know, you get 150 points. It's not going to matter as much as 100 out west.
Okay.
So that was the thing at the time. But I will say this, for going out, it's also, the draft is when you're 14. So Tri-City told me they were going to draft me. So otherwise I was going to Cambridge. But I'm like, what, you're going to guarantee this? And I'm going to be a first-round pick? But I didn't really know what I was getting into. But the question, I guess, for him, and it was good, but he wouldn't remember like I do, because I was terrified to go out there. I didn't want to leave. I wanted to be a big fish in a small pond. I remember, like, there was exhibition games for the high school team the year before, and I was in grade 9, and I skipped a grade, so I was supposed to be in grade 8, and I had 5 goals, and I'm like, I was thinking, like, fit in here.
No way.
I mean, I'm just going to sound stupid, but from a kid, I'm not thinking like that. I'm thinking I want to get laid. I want to fit in. I have a few beers at a party with Donnie Jarvis and the other guy. I know that sounds insane, but I'm telling you, that's where your head is when you're that age and you're playing in the high school team. And I was ripping it. Like, so I'm going, wow, like I'm not even old enough in 2 years. So I knew, again, that I'd be all right against the older players. I didn't know how good against junior players, but he convinced me, and I was like, okay. But when I was on the plane, I don't know if you remember this, you said we can get off now, but I'm telling you, your chances are going to go way down. And I'm like, so like, right
And they
down
would
what?
have.
And I tell most people, because we were thinking Yale had given me an offer first. Senior, and I still say the same, unless you're blue chip.
Yeah.
If you can get your schooling paid for, the earlier do it. Even when you go to major junior, I said earlier, like, you know, a lot of people are thinking NHL, but I had people like that were going, I don't think I'm going to the NHL, but I want to get my schooling, get me a couple of full years and I'll get a free ride to, you know, so not everybody's always thinking NHL. When we first went, I was like at the very least, and that was on my mind, getting a free schooling, because I knew that and I was coming into high school and a lot of people were doing it. And that was the goal. But he did say, he goes, if you get off now, I can't promise you that like someone won't take you. Like you're definitely going to go somewhere in the scholarship. But he goes, your National Hockey League chances go down a little bit here because you're getting an opportunity to go. And not only that, I was 14. I was the youngest junior player in Canada. So he's like, all you got to do is get like 10 goals and 10 assists would be fucking phenomenal.
It would be.
And that took the pressure off me a bit.
Yeah.
And he goes, if you don't like it, come back after 2 months, but give it 2. And within those, but I'm telling you, I still 2 weeks in was like, fuck this, I'm leaving. But I was like, I respect him enough, and I get it. And after the first game and everything, and after everything and I had great teammates, you couldn't have got me out of there with fucking, you honestly, I would have had a gun to my head.
The next year to go back, you had no problem.
And the big thing is that he came with me. I was 14, but the second year was different. They came out here and there because of extenuating circumstances. But I was ready to go the second year on my own. Yeah. But if everybody had their parents with them for like 3 months when they first leave, it would probably help a little bit, right? You know what I mean? So that was definitely a big deal.
Man, that is, guys, thanks for sharing that, because that those are the stories that people want to hear. Like, that's interesting stuff.
It's not like he got a job out there. He was a teacher.
I had to get a leave of absence.
Yeah.
I couldn't let him go at 14. I was 16 and I was finished school because I was a pretty smart kid too. But I couldn't let him go at 14. So what we worked out, I said, okay, we're going to go out. I'm going to get a leave of absence, which I had no trouble doing. And I'm going to go out there and Ron saw that I was going to get work out there, had become a certified BC teacher. I'd go to Vancouver and all that. But the minute I got there, I mean, they knew I was serious. Yeah. And I got all kinds of work, whatever. So it worked out well that way. And his mother's there. And the first year was a big thing. But the second year...
Okay, Terry.
Not a problem. I got to run upstairs for a sec, but I will add to that. The other thing. So they told Senior, they said, you know, if you come out, we'll give you a few bucks to be a scout, right? Quote unquote scout. But it was to get me out there. But the thing is, he did, because there was and Sheldon Surrey was around that age and they didn't know what to do with him. So it was great. Once we heard that, Senior was like, well, fuck it. It'd help if he had a 15-year-old here with him, because Sheldon was second year Bantam. I was first, but we were Bantam playing junior. So they whisked him over from Edmonton. He was playing over in northern Alberta somewhere. They took him over, and there was a guy, Ryan Marsh, great local player that probably should have gone a little bit earlier, was holding out to go to college, but Senior called Tri-City and said, you got to come and take a second look at this guy. Yeah. They came, saw Ryan was next week in Tri-City, played 3 years there, won 3 Canadian titles in University of Alberta, went on to his pro career. So now we made friends there, and like he actually did. Yeah, and there were some other players but they were the 2 success stories. And if not for Senior, neither one of them would have at least ended up in Tri-Cities. Sheldon was really raw. Yeah. You could tell he was good, but he had a shot, but he couldn't. He had no agility. So
no,
we worked on that together. We went into Tri-City together.
You could see the talent.
Yeah. Oh, you could see that he was going to be good. Talent. Like, there was no doubt.
It'll take a little bit of time.
And he was tough. First game, he grabbed the guy.
Yeah.
So we were like,
he was fearless.
And if I didn't have him for that reason, he used to go, Terry, it's not a big deal. You just grab him and fight him. He goes, all the boys are going to love you. All the boys are going to love you. Look, Mike Metcalf, see if you think he's so cool, they're going to fucking love you. Just drop your gloves with pot skin. And I'd go in and like, it'd be a mess. But by the end of the first year, I had 200 minutes. I knew how to do it. And I had no fear anymore, I tell you that. And I learned, Sheldon had a lot to do with it. I'm like, well, he's Bantam. Why can't I do what he's doing? Yeah. And vice versa in a lot of ways. He taught me a bit of toughness, but he was nervous about playing. I remember, like, I was at ease out there. For some reason, I don't know, but the ice opened up, and until I got to major junior, I didn't really even find an adjustment. I know it's going to sound crazy, but I led my team at 14. There was for 10 or 20 games, definitely, but it was more like comfort, because I felt nervous out there because all the guys, what did they think? But once I had the puck, it became, it was a little bit of a learning curve, but I was confident, but Sheldon didn't quite have that. But I did. To me, yeah. Again, I'm being a dead horse, but we helped each other, and Senior was definitely the trifecta part of that because we would often, he'd come over and sleep over. We'd play Nintendo. We were children, right? Playing Junior. Okay, I'll be back.
I mean, yeah, okay, Terry. We'll definitely see you soon, buddy. This guy's gonna keep me entertained for a while here, man. I can't wait to go over some of this stuff with Senior here.
Slide right in. Okay, perfect.
Well,
Here we go.
See where you're on the thing.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
There we go.
Awesome, Senior. Are you comfortable, buddy?
Oh yeah, perfect.
Are you comfortable, buddy?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Hey, so the first thing, Senior, we got to talk about this hoodie you're wearing right here, buddy.
Oh, yeah, that's the
shirt. We got to talk about this
Irish
because this is incredible.
Team. Well, Terry played ball hockey too, and he's in the Hall of Fame, Canadian Hall of Fame, and a couple of world championships and whatever. But they contacted him, an Irish guy in Fort McMurray, and he wanted to sponsor a team in the World Championships. So, and of course, you can get in if your parents were Irish, if you could trace it back, and of course, his family tree. And that's who he went. I think it was to Pittsburgh, and played for the Irish ball hockey national team. That's where I got it. And same thing with Irish ball hockey team. So any swag he gets, he brings home to me. So that's always nice.
Of course, but like to me, that's so powerful to have like a Team Ireland ball hockey swag. Like yeah, Senior, because I mean I had the opportunity to play for the Belfast Giants for a year, right? Yeah, man. Yeah, I was in 2010, Senior. Just 10 years ago, I was over there, and it was the best time of my life, man.
They like hockey there.
They love it there.
Wow.
They absolutely, and there's going to be a team in Dublin that's coming in.
Or they can't believe that you can drop your gloves and fill a guy in. Like, do they like that? Must be like, wow, we can't see that.
Cedar, I'll tell you what. These guys are tailgating at the pub before the game. They have a pub in all the new arenas. They have a pub built in. So they're drinking their pints of Guinness, and then warm up start. They go to their seat. They order their other pint of Guinness. Wow. And then when the game starts, they call the tough guys hard men over there.
Okay.
So when the game starts, they can't wait for the hard men to get on the ice and challenge the other team's hard men. And they go crazy. They love it. They love the scraps. They love it over there.
Great. I love to hear that. I never.
Yeah.
In my day, I would have loved to have done something like that, but it didn't exist. In my day,
yes.
If you were in the minors, because I was really, really a good skater. That's what I was, an exceptional skater, really. And I had the rest too. But if it didn't work out, I could have slid off to the German league or the Finnish league or the Swiss league. It didn't exist.
Yeah.
Like, I would have loved to have played anywhere like that. And I love to travel, and I love history, especially Ireland. Are you kidding me, Ryan?
I know.
I would have loved it, but it just didn't exist. The odd person got over there. I guess they had a contact with someone who was. I'm not saying the leagues didn't exist; they did, but not many people were going. I know that for a fact. No one thought about going over to Europe. It was. I don't know. It was like any hopes you had of making it big were certainly gone. But if I had gone over, I would have been going over with a different reason. I would have gone over because I wanted to see places and meet people. I'm friendly and I'm social, and make a few bucks at it, too. But it would have been just to see the world for me, and I know I could have played, for a while and enjoyed it too.
Oh yeah, Senior. So there's a lot of things that I want to pick your brain about with your journey, because I think it's incredible. one of the most interesting things is this is a time when the WHA and the NHL were kind of battling for superiority, right? Like, but even before that, though, I want to get into Hamilton because you had such a good career in junior, man. Now this is the OHA, which was before they called it the OHL. It was the OHA.
Only 10 teams then.
Now, how many teams, senior?
10.
There was only 10 teams at this time.
So you can sort of tell
Okay.
it was like a 6-team league in the NHL. So imagine now, I think in the OHL now there might be 22. So take those 22 teams and make 10 out of them. So I think those 10 teams become a lot stronger, right? So that's what I came into. You know, it's just a matter of, it's not so much timing, it's just being born, you know, different. Other people born 10 years ago had 22 teams. Other people before that, you know, 6 teams the NHL that played, you know, 10 years in the minors today would have been NHLers. That's all you can do. You got no control for that. But it was difficult because the one good thing that I had working for me, and people forget this, and they wouldn't believe it when I was in Ontario, that I didn't miss a beat. They couldn't understand that. They knew I was from Newfoundland or Newfoundland, a lot of them said, that's all right. You know, why? Where'd you learn your hockey? But where I grew up, in a small town, about 10,000 people, but we had a big pulp and paper mill. And almost everyone in town will say, you know, a large majority worked in the pulp and paper mill. And we had the senior league here was vibrant. I mean, we had NHLers coming down playing in the seat because they paid really good dough. I mean, even for like when I was a kid, we'll say 10 years old, 50, 60 years ago, the boys were getting good dough. And they'd play a 40-game schedule, and there was 6 teams, and you had St. John's, Gander, Grand Falls, Corner Brook, Harbor Grace. So they were really competitive. And so what they did in Grand Falls, the guys they bring in would pretty well run the minor system. So the guy they bring in, when I'm at my really formative years, like when I'm really starting to hit it big in Newfoundland, I think I'm recognized as the best in Newfoundland, but so what? You're in Newfoundland. But they bring in a guy, Nick McCoskey. Now they're saying, well, Nick McCoskey played 10 years in the 6-team NHL. He's from Winnipeg, Manitoba. They paid him big dough. So I was being taught by Nick McCoskey, who was a 6-team NHLer. A lot of people in Canada didn't get that. So we were doing drills.
Yeah.
Nick would bring us up when we were like 14, and they had a junior team, and Nick would put us with the juniors. And he'd bring us up and have us practice with the senior team. So we're getting, oh man, we don't get off the ice at all. So I'm learning a lot from Nick. So when I get to Hamilton, you still got to make it. And the hardest part was not knowing anybody. Had to get away from my homesickness. Okay, put us up in the Sheraton Canada. I don't know if it is uptown Hamilton. All for training camp. All the players stayed there. And I remember going in the dressing room, and I remember his name too, Ray Myers. And Ray was with what they call the Mount Hamilton Bees. The Hamilton Red Wings had their feeder club up on what
affiliate,
in Hamilton. I don't know. You've been to Hamilton. Well, up on the mountain, they had the junior Bees.
Oh, yeah.
So the top players up there sort of slid in to the junior A when the people left, got drafted, whatever. So I remember Ray looked at me and said, "Where are you from?" I said, "Oh, and I had an accent, you know, like most Newfoundlanders do it. I had a heavier than one then for sure. And I said, "Newfoundland." And he started laughing and he was laughing at me. And, oh, Newfoundland. And it was like, this is a joke. And I'm telling you, if I didn't have the balls then, I think it would have been easy to quit. Because a lot of them are like that. But slowly, you prove who you are on the ice. And I started, hey, I can stick handle, I can score, I can skate. And I remember they had a coach, Eddie Bush, and Bushy was an old-time six-team NHL tough guy for the Detroit Red Wings. Eddie Bush, he was from Collingwood,
Yeah.
Ontario. They named the big I saw arena after Mr. Bush. I call him Mr. Bush. And for some reason, Mr. Bush, I didn't never call him Eddie, but Mr. Bush saw something in me that I liked because I always had determination. I wasn't a big kid. I was at 16. I was just turning 17, actually. I went in August. September, I turned, so I was probably 5'7" and a half, 150 pounds. But I could
And senior,
he saw something in me he liked. And all of a sudden, the cuts started happening, and I was still there. Cuts started. This guy, Ray Myers, cut back that I'm doing. Anyway, I'm still there. And I remember the night that I made it. I knew I made it. We were in St. Catharines, playing St. Catharines Blackhawks. And then they had, Marcel Dion, Al McDonough, Bob McMillan, Russell.
wow.
Were loaded. I mean, Dion himself. And I took the puck and I went through the whole team. Through the whole team, deked the goalie and scored. And I knew I made the team on that one rush. Anyway, I made the team. I don't have a money background. My dad was not one of the lucky ones to work at the mill where they were making what in Grand Falls growing up, say, he makes good money. And that means, you had a good paying job. They were paid. Then people that worked in paper mills were on a par all over Canada. Ontario, you might be in Timmins, you might be wherever, or in BC, or basically, and they were all making, because my uncles went through, my cousins, they made a lot of money. But my dad was just a maitre d' in a small hotel in Grand Falls, and he worked for tips. I never grew up, I never had a house. I grew up in an apartment, never had a car, but I was really smart in school. And I remember Dad always told me, Terry, get your right schooling, get your schooling, get your schooling. And I remember when the final cut was made, Mr. Bush called me in. And back then, they're going to laugh now, this is how it was. If you made the team, I made $5 a week. $5 a week. Now, prices are cheaper than I know. I needed $1.50 for transfers to get up. I was doing grade 13 in HCI, so Hamilton Collegiate Institute. So I need $1.50 in tickets for the week and whatever. So you end up with about $3, and I saved money on that. I saved money. I remember Mr. Bush called me in, and our head scout was Eddie Litzen, who played in the NHL and lost an eye, and he was our head scout. Mr. Litzen went on scout for St. Louis, but a wonderful man. And he said, he gave me $100 bill. I couldn't believe it. I'd never seen that in my life. That would be equivalent today of probably $600 or $700 or $800. He gave me $100 and he said, kid, he said, I want you to go out. I had 2 pairs of slacks, 2 jackets. I mean, I didn't have much. And he knew that. And he said, I want you to go out and buy yourself some clothes. And I was like, I couldn't. He said, don't tell anyone because, and I did. I went out and bought a London Fog. They had like a nice, I don't know what they call it. London Fog was, it's like an overcoat, real nice overcoat, and some nice shoes. And it worked out. But he stood by me, and we had, from that team, we had Buster Harvey from Fredericton was #1 pick for North Stars, and Tommy Williams, Ricky. We had good players. Anyway, and when I made it, I knew that then the rule was as long as you play, they pay for your schooling. So grade 13 then was first year university anywhere else, but Ontario had grade 13. But was recognized if you passed grade 13, I'd go to second year McGill or second year wherever. But it was the place you go to was 2,500 all grade 13 students, So it was difficult, but I got through, and that was all paid for. So it's my first year paid for. Then now I'm going to first year McMaster. It was grade 13, 3 years, Mac to get a degree then. Now it's grade 12. They did away with grade 13 because there was too many people failing it. It was too hard. Now it's grade 12, the rest of Canada, plus 4. But I got through. And then I met my first and second year. I did a B average and playing 60 games a year. And then when I turned pro, when I got drafted, I had it in my contract. I had Davey Keon's lawyer. I had a good lawyer from Toronto. And he had in my contract that I couldn't go all year round again like you were. And playing junior, you could go, it was tough. I had no social life. Get up, 8 in the morning, class all day, practice 4:30 to 6, home, repeat. No, I had to do it. I was a regular student. I wasn't taking 2. I was taking 5. I was a regular student.
Wow.
But I knew that if I don't do it, I don't get my schooling. And Dad could never afford it. So at the end, I had 3 years university, basically. And they had it built in that 2 summer schools, because it's the only way I could get it. I had to go in the summer. And they paid for all my schooling. And I ended up coming out with, after my, second year pro, I had my BA in French and a BA in history from McMaster. And my next 2 years, Detroit paid for. I ended up, when I got sent, ended up giving up for 1 term anyway. Ted Lindsay called me year before. I was an all-star in the IHL. It's different IHL now than it is then. It was all kinds of number 1 picks were going to their team. So I built it in my contract. When I come home, 3rd semester, boom, boom, boom. So I ended up getting 6 years and my BA, BD, my teaching, and all free. So it worked out. Up top, it only lasted woulda, coulda, shoulda. I mean, wow. The story I could tell Sheriff, how in my draft, then it was no big deal. It was held at the Queen Elizabeth Hotel, Montreal. No one went. The teams went. The GM sat around the big room. Not a big deal. And I was in my draft year, which was 72, 69, 71, 72. We had a goalie by the name of Mike
72,
playing 12, 13 years in the NHL. He was the best in the OHA. And a guy, Bob Neely, who ended up 8th overall, Toronto Maple Leafs, played 5-6 years for the Leafs. And they got traded to the Peterborough Peach. Roger Nielsen was coaching them. Bob Deeney, they had a good team. They were going for a Memorial Cup. They ended up losing 2-1 to Cornwall Royals. Brodeur against Pfizer, 2-1. But, getting a side here, but I went 40.
No, I love it.
I went 44th. It's not a bad pick. I know today it'd be mid-second. But man, oh man, I was told him you're going first round. I mean, we had 10 teams. Our team was 9th. Shutt led the league with the Toronto Marlboros, number 1 team in Canada, who tried to make a deal for me, but I wouldn't go because I would have had to give up my year of university, and I wouldn't do it. Shutt had 60. I had 47 with the 9th place at a 10th place team. Johnny Bauer calls me aside. Peterborough are playing the Marlies. Pfizer gets me tickets to come in and watch. I'm in Hamilton, only half-hour drive.
Yeah.
So Johnny Bauer and George Armstrong stopped me in Maple Leaf Gardens. I'm on my way to my seat. This is the truth. Mr. Bauer. Johnny Bauer would say shit if he had a mouthful. He was such a nice man. He called me over and he said, Terry. I said, oh, wow. I said, Mr. Bauer. He said, I spent more fucking time in that barn watching you play this year. It was called the Barton Street Barn, Hamilton Forum, built in 1920.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, my God. It was like old-time hockey, but come on. And with small ice surface. So when I played the Marlies in Maple Leaf Gardens, I flew because it's a huge ice surface. And he said, my philosophy is if you could get away from the Czechs in that little barn you played in, you'll certainly get away from the Maple Leaf Gardens. you're going to be our number one pick. Now, Johnny Bauer's telling me this. This is around the winner of the OHA is going to go to the Memorial Cup. So I'm going to say then it was 60 game schedule. I'm saying it's around middle of April, maybe last of April. My university's finishing up. The draft is in June, 2 months. So he said, you're our number one pick. They're picking number 11. But he said, it's got to get by the other scouts. Bob Davidson was their head scout. And he said, it's got to get by Bob Davidson. But he said, you're my recommendation to be our number one pick. Okay, make a long story short. The draft comes. They pass on me 3 times. And I can't believe it. And the only thing I can think of was that the Fighting Saints in Minnesota had contacted me. They were offering a contract, money in escrow, no one cut, no way, no trade, new car, new Charger every year, all my lawyer's fees paid for, all my university paid for.
Wow.
And back then, pocket money, you're going to laugh again. Pocket money I got, this would have been 72, 73, $45 a week pocket money on campus. It was huge, I'm telling you. Plus that, everything paid for, money in escrow. I was talking to them. The only thing I can figure out is the word got out that I was talking to the WHA. Because it made no sense for them to pass on me 3 times. It just made no sense. I flew in the gardens. They ended up, as it ended up, they made a pretty good pick. But he was in junior. That's all I'm going by. Nowhere close to being junior. Name is George Ferguson. Played about 9 or 10 years. He played for the Oshawa Generals. Ferguson had probably 35 goals, 75 points. I had 47 goals, 92 in 60 games. And all I know in junior, and I'm not, George is probably watching this now saying, but he wasn't. In junior, Ferguson was not as good as I was, no way. And they passed on me 3 times. And this is what convinced me to go. It's so different. The GM then of the Minnesota North Stars was Ren Blair, discovered Bobby Orr. Coach and GM of the North Stars. They call him the Bird, Ren Blair. I get a phone call. You won't believe this. Okay, kid, this is Ren Blair. Yes, sir. We just drafted you. This is what he said. We're going to fly you to Toronto tomorrow. We're going to sign you for $5,000. Don't bring a lawyer. Were his exact words. I said, Mr. Blair, I've got to bring a lawyer. I don't know anything about pro hockey. Listen, kid, I'm really fair to the guys I sign. You can ask any of them. I find out after that he was the biggest prick ever existed. Wayne Conley, Minnesota, said Terry, he had just scored 45 goals in the NHL. Anyway, so that's what I've got to deal with. Meanwhile, Fighting Saints fly me to Minnesota for a week and wine and dine me. I meet Herbie Brooks, Miracle on Ice, Harmon Killebrew, the whole shot. I was their second pick. Bobby McMillan, who ended up playing 15 years in the NHL, Lady Byng Award winner, was the number 1 pick for the Rangers. He jumped with me. Same lawyer, Davey Keon's lawyer, and Jimmy Harrison, a bunch of others. But Harrison, when we signed in Toronto Dominion Center, and Harrison came out and we went in. I had 15, 15, 15. Mac had 20, 20, 20, and average NHLer was at like 12, 15. I was a rookie.
Yeah.
And that's what I had to deal with. And I said, Mr. Blair, I'm going to sign with them. Kid, don't think I won't hold it against you. And I said, Mr. Blair, that league's not going to last a day. I said, well, Mr. Blair, my money is in escrow. If I wasn't paid by the Minnesota Fighting Saints, I was paid by the First National Bank of St. Paul. if the league had folded after one day, all my money was in the bank. I'd just take my money and go off with it. So anyway, ended up signing, and I can't say I've got a regret. I can't. The number one pick for the North Stars was Jerry Byers, played for the Kitchener Rangers, was left winger for Bill Barber. Barber came out in my draft, and he played maybe 20 games in the NHL with the North Stars, few with Atlanta, went overseas, never got a chance. I ended up going, oh, wow, it's a long story.
That's okay.
And I went, oh, it's interesting what happens in hockey. You know what happens in hockey, woulda, coulda, shoulda again. So with me, I ended up jumping, and I just got married. I got drafted in June, married in July, married a wonderful woman, married 50 years now.
Wow, congratulations, my friend.
And so I go down there. Now, my coach my last year, junior, was Harry Neal, ended on CBC, hockey analyst.
Harry Neal.
I'm in Detroit and Vancouver. Anyway, Harry was my coach in Hamilton. The year before, it was Billy Harris. I had great coaching, 3 cups for the Leafs, but Billy decided not to go back. So I was Harry's boy. It was a few of us. Eddie Gilbert made Kansas City. Visor went to the Chicago Blackhawks, actually, with backing up Tony O. But we had a few guys on the team that were NHLers. But when I get there, Harry's not coach. Harry's assistant coach. I'm not playing much. Half the team are U.S. Olympians, so they're NHLers. They had just come from the World Championships.
Yeah.
Jimmy Johnson had just jumped from the Philadelphia Flyers 3 years in a row, 25 goals, centerman. Teddy Hampson, 12 years in the NHL, centerman. Bob McMillan, number 1 pick, Rangers, centerman. Huffer Christensen, captain of the U.S. Olympic team, centerman. I'm a centerman. Now I'm like on the totem pole. Wow.
But now, senior.
I'm hardly playing at Sonmore. Used to coach the University of Minnesota. Now, let's get this straight, and it's not a knock. Every team in the NHL got a constituency. Montreal, there's got to be, it's just the way it is, not to say it's all French, but there's got to be some French on that team.
Yes,
Boston
I agree.
Bruins, there's got to be 2 or 3 from BU or Boston College. It's a constituency. You go now to Calgary or other teams are all Canadian. It's the people you play for. So now I'm hardly playing. I'm getting 3-4 shifts a game, 20 games in. I'm like this good junior. I get my first goal against the Quebec Nordique, shorthanded. Okay. Sonmore gets fired.
At the Colisée?
Pardon?
Was it at the Colisée, that goal? In Quebec City? Or was it in Minnesota?
It was in Minnesota. I scored.
Okay, right on.
I had a record then. I was only first year. I scored 2 in 17 seconds in the Colisée, though. They had J.C. Tremblay and Martardif. Oh my God, they had almost all their team is French, like you'd expect. But no. And then when Sonmore got kicked upstairs, Harry took over. And I must say, he called me aside and he said, Terry, I know it hasn't been what you thought. I said, Jesus Christ, Harry. I said, man, I don't think I would ever come down. He said, well, I'm going to tell you, I know I'm going to get you in when I can. But he said, you're going to kill every goddamn penalty. I don't care if it's 2-2 with a minute and a half to go in the game, you're fucking killing. Because Harry knew I'd been stiffed. And I only went because of Harry. But that's all right. It happens. And he lived up to it. Hopper gets hurt, appendectomy. I get in, play 15 games regularly, 7 goals, 6 assists, because I can play. I go out, we take a Western swing. Western swing then was LA, Edmonton, and what was the other team? Oh, Winnipeg. We went on Western.
Winnipeg, okay.
Winnipeg Jets, they had Holm, they had a bunch, of NHLers. They could have beaten most of the NHL. Well, they had a list, best teams in hockey, NHL, WHL, and the Winnipeg Jets, including NHL teams, are ranked 6th. They go to beating a ton.
Oh, wow.
But on the trip, I score 4 shorthanded goals, 3 game winners. And I got like 11 goals on hardly any time. I remember being in a bar in Philadelphia Flyers, Big Bad Flyers were there.
Yeah.
Doug Favell, Bernie Perron. Anyway, Favell, yeah. I remember sitting at the bar, Bob McMillan. At the time, Bobby had 10. Bobby hadn't missed a shift. He said, nope, he said, I can't believe. At the time, I had 10 goals. He had 10. He said, I can't believe you got the same number of goals I get 3 times as much. Mac played for St. Catharines Blackhawks. And I said, Mac, you always knew I could fucking score, man, for Hamilton. We played you guys enough time, I could always score. He said, you're right. So we ended up going 6 against Winnipeg. We lost in overtime 6 games. And I played a bit. I had 2 assists, and I played well. My second year, now this is where
is it all going well?
It's going. I'm listening. I just got to tighten it. Go ahead,
like,
buddy. I'm listening.
Man downstairs, I didn't even
know.
know.
I'm a rambling, gambling man. You know that. Lord, I was born a rambling man, trying to make a living.
No. Hey, listen. These stories you're telling is such good content.
It is.
Trust me. Please continue.
I don't even. Yeah. I just think it was all going well. The connections well.
It's going incredibly well.
Okay, I'm just upstairs. So just call me if you need me. I'm just right there.
Good up there.
Yeah. It's all good.
I appreciate it, Junior.
Well, yeah, this is an interesting story, Sheriff, because it's happened to more than me.
Yes.
And the thing is, never give up. That's what I'm trying to get out. But this is where it gets really bad, Sheriff. This is where it gets really bad. My second year, I come home. I go to my first year summer school to complete my BA McMaster. So I met Gail Knight and Mary Residence. They're paying for everything. Oh, no sweat. So I finish that. I get to come home for 2 or 3 weeks for camp. I go to camp. Now, get this. I just named all the centermen. In the off season, they signed Mike Shaky Walton from the Boston Bruins, just coming up the Stanley Cup, centerman. Mike won't sign unless his brother Robbie signs with him, who's a centerman.
No way.
Horseshit.
Yeah, you gotta watch what you're saying, man. This guy could be listening.
I'm sorry.
I'm just telling you can.
Well, I'm not sorry. I'm not really sorry because he was horseshit.
Okay.
I love the passion, though, Senior.
Well,
but here, Senior.
I get upset to this day. Now, Robbie Walton, he can't hold my jockstrap. Mike won't sign, so he signed Walton. Now, I get called in. Cap Towers is where we stayed during camp. A big a hotel. They call it the Cap Towers, you know. Somewhere calls me in up to the suite. I don't know what's going on. I'm in the middle of camp. We want to send you down. Sheriff. I lost it. And I said, your listeners are going to have to excuse me, but it's true. I said, Glenn, go fuck yourself. I looked at him straight in the eye. I said, since I've been here, I haven't had a chance. You haven't given me a chance. I played 15 games when I got a chance, got 13 points, and now you're sending me down. Here's what I'm going to do, Glenn. I'm on a one-way, no cut, no trade. I'm just going to stay here all year and collect my contract. He said, you can do that, Terry. But I know darn well if I do it, my career's over. Second year in.
Yeah.
I go back, living in our nice apartment for a week. Larry Kish comes up, our farm club, I find out. Now, I didn't know this when I went there. I loved it. Is in St. Petersburg, Florida.
No way.
So Larry comes up. Larry ends up going on to coach the NHL, the Hartford Whalers. And I'm the guy they want. He says, Terry, we come down, give it a down. No, Larry, no. Anyway, I say, okay. He sells me. So when I get there, I'm 10 minutes from the beach. I got right outside my door is a swimming pool. I'm getting paid big ticket money, per diem money, big ticket money, new car, except they didn't get me a Charger down there. They got me a Javelin, which was a nice sports car, air conditioning the whole shot. Ooh, now I'm thinking, okay, so I know I'm going to have a good year. They try to put me in the American League, but the NHL won't touch any players in the WHA. So
The
they
WHA. Yeah.
call the Southern Hockey League, the SHL, and St. Petersburg, Suncoast Suns we were called, were Minnesota, Chicago, and New England. Roanoke were Philadelphia. They all had their farm clubs. So I get there, and it's not bad. I got three things that I can do during the day. Practice, 10 o'clock in the morning, always sunny, blue sky, go deep sea fishing, or go to Disney World, 2 hours away for the afternoon. Okay. But most of the time, we went to the beach, go shopping, whatever. So I started, doing what I thought I'd do. Off the hop, I got 17 goals, boom, third in scoring. I know this is where if ever I made a mistake, this was it. But on second thoughts, I don't think it was. Blair calls me. By this time, it's halfway through the year. Saints are trying to dump my contract. And Blair says, Terry, I'll forget about what you did, all this. I got a spot for you right now. They're called the Phoenix Roadrunners in the Western Hockey League. Well, professional then. They had all, And so I got a spot for you right now. Same contract, same everything. Western Hockey League, Phoenix Roadrunners. That was Minnesota's farm club, too. The next year, Phoenix and Cincinnati are going to come in the WHA. Two new teams. I'm ripping it up. I thought about it, and I did think about it. And I said, I'm going to get drafted by one of those teams. I got to. And I remember saying, Mr. Blair, and I remember he saying it to me again. Don't think I'm not going to hold it against you, which he did. But I ended up finishing the year, having a great year. Got hurt partway through, but 50 games, 65. Anyway, I get drafted.
Oh, yeah.
By Phoenix. 10th pick, they had 20 picks. 10th round. I was their 10th pick. Wow, okay. Then they get back to me and say, well, we're keeping our team. We're not signing anybody. The guys they got, now I'm in Never Land. I've got to go back. The North Star still have my rights. Got to go to North Star training camp. Oh, geez. Now I know I'm up behind the eight ball. But I can understand where they're coming from. You jumped, okay. Minnesota at the time were stacked. They had three guys that went on to play for that Summit 72 series. Bergman, Goldsworthy, and Bergman, Goldsworthy, and Parise. Cesar Maniago, Drew Drouin, Dennis. Oh, they were probably the best in the West End. They were loaded. But I have a great camp. Yeah, not a good camp, because I could wheel, and they knew what I could do. They'd come over and watch our games in St. Paul. So first thing I get there, Parise comes over, he says, Terry, how you doing? Because he knows we watch one another's games.
Yeah.
Lou Nanny. Anyway, camp ends. I've had a really good camp. I outplay absolutely, and people listen to it and say, no, I know this. It's 40 years down the road, 45 years down the road. Freddie Stanfield, but you come from the Bruins, absolutely outplayed Freddie Stanfield. They say, Terry, we want to send you down. Okay. I can understand. Okay. They got a team coming in the IHL called the Lansing Lancers out of Lansing, Michigan, where MSU is. Okay. Paul Bright is their owner. Paul was the assistant GM for the LA Kings. Great guy. So between the jigs and the reels, I got to work out a contract with Paul because the North Stars say, well, we got 36 under contract. Same old deal. but I'm not going unless I'm getting big. I'm not going. By this time, I'm finished. I got 2 degrees. I'm not going down playing for 250 a week, 400 a
Yeah.
week. So I told Paul, brings me out, and he's got guys that played for him for years. And he says, well, Terry, and Paul's a great guy. I was smoking a cigar. I said, Paul, I was making 15 at the time, Sheriff, when I jumped, I told you, was big dough. First
Yeah.
rounder, generally speaking. You look it up, Daryl Sittler, 8th overall, 8,000 a sign. Larry Robinson, 16th overall, 8,000 a sign. 8,000 to play. I get 15 to sign, 15 to
Wow.
play. I'm on the top notch. So he said, geez, Terry, I can't give you 15. Guy's been with me. Oh, he said, if they find out. I said, well, Paul, I'm never saying okay. I'm going to compromise here. Give me 14. Okay, because I was the guy. He went to. By this time, it's.
He wants to ask you another question.
Yeah, Jackie Gordon was GM, and anyway, I ended up going down, having a great year. Second All-Star team, 101 points, 5th in scoring. 4 guys in front of me go straight to the NHL. That's how. Second year, I go back, get hurt. Want to send me back? I say I'm not going back. Check. The only one in the Met. Walk down, get my skates. That's when Detroit got a hold of me at Christmas, and Lindsay offered me the world because he knew what I could do. First thing he says, we're going to get you a house on the lake, where they're called Millionaire's Coast. One of these A-frame jobs. Everything's paid for. Groceries paid
Yeah.
for. Car, Z28 paid for. $3,000 signing bonus, which is unheard
Woo!
of. Oh, yeah. $750 a week. Okay. So now they're talking. That's when I went back again and checked the stats. I loved it in Kalamazoo. Loved it with University of Western. Loved it. But after 2 years, then I knew I wasn't going back up. I had two degrees in. Then I came home, became a teacher, and that was it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
No, Senior, and I appreciate the detail that you went into, buddy. I'm on the edge of my seat. I don't know if you noticed, but I was enjoying your story so much that I knocked my own mic off its stand, man, and I had to tighten it back on. I'm like, this guy's making me cause trouble listening to him, man. It's incredible. I appreciate it. So now, Senior, what I heard starting from the OHL time was that you're a guy that comes from a family that education is very important for you to have, okay?
Yeah.
That was top priority with Hamilton. Man, did you ever embrace that? Did you ever take advantage?
They all tried to recruit me, and like a bunch of them, and even University of Notre Dame, I remember. But Niagara Falls, Half M's was in Niagara Falls, and he really wanted me, but I wasn't going to go unless the place I was going had a university. And the coach got my coach, midget coach, knew Eddie Bush, and that's how I ended up in Hamilton. Forever grateful for it. But like I said, my dad had no money. I mean, none. I didn't starve to death. I had clothes. Don't get me wrong. But I lived in a 2-bedroom apartment. I had no car. Now, most people did. So I was lower socioeconomic. And it was so important to me. Dad said, Terry, get your schooling. And I listened to him. And the one thing I didn't bring this up, Sheriff, that I'm proud of. My dad died at 52. He only said I flew him up the Ottawa.
God bless his soul.
Yeah, he was far too young. Cancer, never smoked a day in his life, walked everywhere anyway. Lived pancreatic 1 month. But the one thing I promised Dad, he did, we were so close. I think that's why Terry and I are close. I promised him he never missed a hockey game, never missed a practice. Dad never missed baseball or hockey. And I told him, I said, Dad, when I turn pro, I'm going to buy you a car. And I remember when my signing bonus was 15, my wife's uncle worked in a car dealership. And I said, Harry, we were getting married out here. in St. John's, and Mom and Dad were coming out. And I said, Harry, I went down because I knew Dad couldn't afford gas that much, about a nice small Plymouth Horizon. They were a little small car, but it was a car,
Like car.
Maybe cars then, average car was probably $4,000 or $5,000. This one was like three because it was small and Anyway, Dad had no idea of it. So I had it in the driveway with balloons on it and everything like that. Dad arrives,
Wow.
comes out down to the house here, and he thinks this is a car that's going to go into the wedding party. And I went over and I gave him the keys. And he looked at me. He said, Terry, what? I said, Dad, it's yours. He said, what? I said, Dad, I always told you when I turned pro, I said, I'm going to buy you a car. And he started to cry. And I said, no, Dad. I said, you did everything for me. I said, I wouldn't be here unless the one good thing I did out of all of it was get Dad that car. And he couldn't even drive it back because he never had a license. My cousin drove the car back for him, and he got his license and whatever, and then he ended up dying shortly after. But it was a wonderful thing. I can look back on it that I did. But and that was it. And I got it because of Dad. And I remember Sheriff coming back from Montreal. Our longest trip then was Peterborough, Ottawa, Montreal. Always Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We'd end up on Sunday playing Montreal Canadiens would play at night. We'd always play 2 in the afternoon. Bus back from Montreal, get back to Hamilton, 3, 4 in the morning. You're gone. I had a class at 8. I never missed classes. So I'd be just gone, but I did it. And of course now, as a young fella, I was mature, and I had good. I was foresighted, I could see down the road. And now, of course, when I ended up my pro career, I landed on like a cat on my feet, just stepped right into a teaching job, taught 30 years and retired. But I couldn't have done it unless for that. But I stuck with it. And it was strictly because of what Dad said. He always said, Terry, get your schooling. Dad only had grade 5. Back then it wasn't unusual. A lot of parents had to go and work. And Mom had like grade 6. But I did it and it worked out. And I think I imparted a lot of that to Terry. Terry had it a lot easier, of course. Terry's grown up. I'm a teacher. He got the best skates. His grandfather loves him, won't let me buy any hockey equipment for him. He wants to buy it for him. Best gloves, best everything. But I always taught it to him. I said, and he was really good at a young age, and he was really good. And I could see it. Because, when you play pro, you can see things that parents, they don't see. And I could see that there's going to be potential here. Little things, just little things. Not necessarily into goals, just little things, how he made that pass. And so I always told him, Terry, this is when he was here getting 10 goals a game, was no, it should have been way then. But I said, don't you ever hearing you bragging. I said, you won't, the people around will know how good you are. You don't need to tell anybody. And I said, people will recognize, and he never did. And I think that it certainly rubbed off on him. Without a doubt it did, because he was a good kid and never ever was one to toot his own horn, whatever. And Terry always pulled for the lesser guy. Terry would maybe a guy who's not as good, he'd pull for him on the team. And even in life, I remember, and I take pride in this too. He was doing grade 10, I think, in BC, and there was a kid in the school called Vincent. I forget Vince's last name, but he was one of these kids. He was a nerd. Forsyth. He was a nerd. The big class, but he started with the briefcase, and they all picked on him. And he looked up to Terry, and Terry was the star then for the Quesnel Millionaires. And Terry and another kid I had on the team, Farmer. Forget Farmer's name. He was called Farmer. But Farmer was like And if anyone picked on Vincent, they were going to answer. And all of a sudden, Vince became popular because Terry and Farmer were the players on the Cornell Millionaires, and Vincent was their friend. So now all of a sudden, Vince was everyone. Everyone is friends with Vince. Why? Because, and there's something to be proud of there. He took it and he wrote Terry for years after, saying, Terry, when he was older, a man, how much you stood up for me and how much I appreciated it. And it just says that's character right there. That's character right there. And he had it in spades. And when he came out, when he came out, the first thing that he went so high, went 8th. They were all trying to get him. But the first thing when I went to the Crown Plaza Hotel after the draft, that Jacques Demers and Serge Savard sat down and looked me straight in the eye, and they said, no, we didn't draft Terry. We don't have him vision being number 1 line or number 2. He said, if he works out, he can. We got to work on his skating, but he's solid number 3. And they said, with his character, number 1. They said, we're sick and tired of going into Philadelphia and being fucking run out of that building. And with guys like Terry, it ain't going to happen because Pierre Mondu, their head scout, flew out west. They were trying to figure out who to take. Followed them, anyway, in the West, they play 120 games in a row on the road. The way he was going on a 10-game road trip. Brandon was their first game, 33 hours away. Get off the bus and play.
Jeez.
And he said, I watch your son play 10 games in a row, and he plays the same on the road as he does at home. It doesn't matter. And that's why it was character. And I think he got that, certainly part of it, from me, and I'm proud of that.
So, Senior, I got to say 2 things here. First thing, dude, you have no idea how much I appreciate your intensity.
Well,
I get goosebumps. No, brother, I'm getting goosebumps.
But that's the way
listening to this intensity.
That's the way I played. Terry was much bigger and stronger, and he. Well, I always said if Terry had my skating, because my draft year, they ranked the skaters in the NHL in the OHA, and Gainey was ranked 1. I was 2, and that was in front of, in terms of not so much necessarily the fastest, though I was fast, but I could slash, I could cut, I could really slash and get away from the check, and he had to work on that, but he had the physical tools. He was big and strong, afraid of nothing. If you give him my skating and you give him his size, same thing.
Yeah.
But what it could have, should have. But yeah, I'm still intense about it because, I think it should have worked out differently for both of us. But as it turns out, Terry's doing okay. I did okay. But it's woulda, coulda, shoulda. I could name you it wasn't just Terry. I mean, I remember Brad Church played for the Prince Albert Raiders, number 1 pick, Washington Capitals, 17 overall. Mike Barnett's agent 2. Brad comes into St. John's. He's playing for the Hershey Bears. 4 years in the minors. We go out and have a beer. He says, Senior. He said, I can't fucking believe it. I said, what? He said, I can't get a game. He said, they picked me their number 1 pick, and Brad is like this, shaking. He said, I haven't had a chance. He said, I walked into the GM, and he said, why the fuck did you pick me number 1? You didn't never gave me a chance. Gave it up the next year. He ends up coaching now. Yep.
So, Sheriff, for some reason, with Senior, there's one thing we don't have in common, but it's fine. It always goes into defending our career. I'm happy with my career.
Yeah.
All I've heard you say so far is why you got fucked and I got fucked. I'm sure he wants to talk about something else.
That's true. Well, maybe
right?
So.
I don't want to put words in Brad Church's mouth. Maybe he's a born-again Christian. Maybe Vincent is a surfer and he's an Adonis and he goes out with a rocket. Okay. We don't want to put words in other people's mouths.
And you're right. You're right.
There's other parts. Maybe he wants to ask you,
okay,
what stick you like? You're not giving anybody a chance.
I know.
And I'm fine. It's good. I played for the Montreal Canadiens and I'm pumped about that.
Okay. Yes, no, actually, Terry, you came down at an interesting time because your dad, and trust me, I would have cut him off if it was anyone else. The stories were just too good. They were just too good. I'm like, what he's saying right now
But I'm just
is, I know you're giving him a hard time. But hey, listen, this is priceless. This is priceless having you guys both on. You have no idea, Terry, how entertaining the last hour and a half has been. But now listen, sorry, Senior. Yeah, go ahead.
Go back 50 years, and I knew guys then when I was playing and tell you stories, and that's meaningful too. Like my first year, for example.
I just got to keep you in check.
Yeah.
I know, but he didn't. Why don't you let him ask a question?
Okay.
Because that's why last weekend. Do you see last week why I asked him questions that even I didn't know, because I never hear them. I hear every single time, to the point that you just said, "Hey, you want to hear a story?" There's someone interviewing you. Maybe he wants to. Maybe his audience.
I thought he was giving me rein to tell a story. That's all.
Hey, listen. I understand now why this guy's a reoccurring guest on Spit and Chicklets.
Yes.
Right?
Well, I'm not saying he can't spend yarn.
No, I'm a.
But now here, listen, Senior. I want to ask you, brother, about this role that you do have on Spit and Chicklets, okay? Because I love Spit and Chicklets. I would love to somehow get on that show. Tell me about like the most interesting experience you've had.
Hey, come back.
On Spit and Chicklets.
Great guys.
By the way, my daughter and I have had our eyes on a house for a while, and it's been a long time because, like I said, made some bad investments, got myself back, finally got a few things going, thanks to you and Spit and Chicklets and everything for the platform and the podcast. But I got to go upstairs because we just found out that the house we wanted, we're going to close. Senior, we got it.
Oh, hey, you heard it here, ladies and gentlemen.
Deal.
He was keeping it in while he was talking to you.
I was
He was going to get a phone call. It was either going to be another woman or him, and he had it picked out. And anyway, they got it. Good.
So I'm going to go.
Congratulations.
Thank you,
congratulations.
I was just keeping him in check because I know.
And he's got to. It's the way I am.
I know.
Sheriff, it's my personality. That's how I am.
Hey, and I love it, Senior. I absolutely love it. Here's a question for you, because Terry's fresh.
I'm brutally honest. I'm an honest guy. I'm brutally honest.
Yes. And I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Now, here's a question for you, Senior, because Terry's fresh on our mind.
Yes.
I want to talk about the NHL draft. I want to talk about, now you talked about your draft and how at that time it wasn't really set up in the way that it was like for senior or for junior.
No.
Now, aside from that, bright lights and glory,
yes.
What I want to talk about is, in my opinion, I find that the NHL draft is a family accomplishment. Now, the reason for that is, first of all, 18 years old.
Yes.
From birth to 18, our families are with us through and through, especially your family.
Yeah.
You going to BC when he was 14, you being a part of his journey. What was it like, man, to see your son get drafted in the first round to the Montreal Canadiens, Senior?
Yeah, it was
like, what was that like?
Yeah, it was surreal, but the whole thing, Sheriff, it was like when we went out west and he played, and when he, went to Tri-City and really put numbers on the board, and he was starting, then the talk was then, well, we think he's going to go in the first round. He just built on it until the draft was coming, and they were all calling me. I remember the Sharks called. They were picking 12. We're picking him, but he's not going to be around. The Bruins were number 9, and they had done a big story in the Boston Globe. They were picking him 9. We knew the first 6 were gone. That's the way it works. We knew Berard was gone to where did
Ottawa?
Yeah, they ended up trading. You're right, Islanders, and then Wade Redden was 2. They ended up trading.
Yeah.
And then Aki Bird was going to the Leafs.
Aki Bird.
I think number 4 was either Langkow was number 5. He was going to Tampa. No, we didn't know he was going to Tampa Bay. But number 4 was, I think, kid from Kingston. Chad
and this is the 1995 draft, right?
1995.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't know. 7 on. We didn't know. And the way it worked, Mike Burnett, who was Gretzky's agent at the time, had all his clients like in the front row pretty well of the Edmonton Coliseum. And number 7 was Winnipeg, which became Phoenix. And the head scout for Winnipeg told me after, Shane Doan was sitting in front of us. Now, Shane played in Kamloops, so I knew Shane from playing against Terry with, the Blazers and whatever. And the head scout said we were split because your son was power left winger, Shane was power right winger. Your son was tough, Shane was tough, though most people don't know, but Doan was tough. And he said what gave it to Shane, they had just won the Memorial Cup when he was MVP. And he said, really, it was a flip of coin. It's okay. Now, Montreal are picking number 8. Sheriff, you have to realize every other team, 3 teams didn't interview Terry. Philadelphia, I don't think they had a number 1 pick. St. Louis, I don't think they had a number 1 pick. And the Montreal Canadiens.
Oh, really?
They never interviewed him. So
wow.
When Doan went number 7, I said, Terry, you're going to the Bruins. I turned to him and said, Barnett told me the week before they had done the major story because he was like, and it was a good comparison, Terry O'Reilly from the left side. Really good comparison, about the same size. O'Reilly needed to work on his skating, but he could score, same thing. And so I said, you're going number 9. And the way they have it worked up, the cameras at the board level and the CSN camera starts to come up. I'm thinking, why is it coming up? Because I know the guy's here, and stops right in front of us.
No way.
And I said, Terry, I said, my God, what the Canadians are going to pick you. I said, they are. He said, Dad. Andre Boudria went up, said from the Tri-City Americans, Montreal Canadiens pick. I couldn't. No one could believe it. 31 teams or 30 teams. No, they didn't interview him.
Yeah.
Then they tell us when we get up, they said we didn't want to show our hand and we needed exactly what he offered. Then it became sort of, then you're going up, talking to Savard, Demers. Then it became like another level. You saw, especially, I don't know how it is now, I guess it is, especially if you're number 1.
Yeah.
Wow, that entailed, like, everyone just looked at you, and even when he was in Montreal, and especially Montreal, like going in, buying a suit or buying a nice coat, you were like God almost, And it was just, then you're dealing with Barnett and getting flown here and flown there and, meeting. It was just, I'm glad I went through it. I wish, like Terry said, he's proud and certainly to make it. But, it was just a new level. It opened your eyes,
Oh, yeah.
Like, wow, can you imagine now? That's the Canadians, but what happens if you're like Lafreniere went number 1 overall to the Rangers? I mean, you're in New York City, but that's all part, it's all part of it. So, you appreciate what you get and what happened and go with the flow. That's all you can do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Works out. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it does. Life doesn't stop.
Yep.
Done.
Now, Senior, I didn't get a chance to talk to Terry to Junior too specifically about that time because there was so much for us to talk about. But you being so close to him and being his right hand man, you guys seem to be so close. And at this time, I know you were close. Now, he's a first round pick, top 10 pick. What did he end up going? 8th?
8th, yeah.
Okay, so he's a top 8 pick to the Montreal Canadiens. Now, this is before the Sidney Crosby year where they had the cap. So obviously, being a first rounder, Junior was taken care of financially, correct? With his signing bonus.
So Barnett did a really, really fine job with that. That's the one good thing, yes. And as a matter of fact, it was that year or the year after they put the cap things. They said these guys are making too much. Because now I was talking to someone out in Vegas. I think it was Christopher Stieg, who would with the Blackhawks, a few cups. A nice guy, just met him from Lethbridge, told me his career, told me how oh my God, he beat all the odds. Sheriff, you can't believe. I said, what? He ends up winning 3 cups. He said, Senior, my career was over 4 times. It was over 4 times, told to go home, kicked off a team. It's over. Anyway, how it ends up with him. And he said, yeah, I think now it's like, he said, I think there's a few of them in the first round that get 300 to 500 to sign. But they backed it way down, right?
Yeah.
But he had a good time, and Barnett was a good agent, and, he did well for him that way. Huh?
See, that's the one thing that I like about hockey is, I mean, obviously it's not like that anymore, but guys were rewarded. Like, that was a reward for all the dedication. I find it's a reward for the families. I mean, the kids are only like some are 18, some are 19, most of them are 20 when they sign that entry level, but it's just so nice. Like, I was before that rule too. So, I mean, I was an 8th round pick, Senior, and I got my $50,000 signing bonus. But my buddies,
$1,000 a sign?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
It's not bad for
What did you do with
pick.
it? What did you do with it? Get a
Bought
car?
a Jeep Grand Cherokee.
Yes, I was going to say you definitely bought a car.
Oh yeah, everyone gets a car.
Right?
That's
But
pretty good dough. 50 grand.
well, I mean, but you got to remember, guys that were the same age as me, guys like Jason Pominville, Ryan Miller, Derek Roy, they're getting 850, 900. Thomas Vanek, 1.1.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So they were making they had some serious cash when we were 20 years old, right? But again, that's a reward, I find, to the families. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the thing is too, Sheriff, the quicker that you realize that you're a product, the better off you're going to be. Milk it and get as much out of it, because if, for example, your career ends tomorrow, sorry. And, they'll be nice about it, but what value are you to them now? So, get everything you can while you can, because you don't know that,
Exactly. Now, Senior, here's another point to add to that.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, I'm a huge fan of your son.
Yes.
I listened to all his podcasts. When I saw that you were the special guest, I was pretty excited. I tuned in, right? One of the most impressive things that I heard on that show, on Tales with TR, was the fact of why you decided to go with the Saints over the North Stars. You're drafted by the North Stars. You explained it today, but hearing it on Tales with TR, the school package was way better, and the contract was just simply better.
And I can't deny that. I can't deny even that, something, what happened to you, and the WHA ended up folding whatever. I can't deny that I wouldn't have done the same thing. I'm being told, you're going to fly me, I'm going to sign me for $5 grand, no schooling, no lawyer's fees paid for, no car. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? To me, it's an easy decision. I think I'd do the same thing. Geez, I mean, I know, because I'm an academic kid anyway, so I know from that point of view, you get a sense of security. I remember when I ended my degree, my second year summer school, I knew then, I said, something, I got a degree now. I got something. I'm going to do something that I didn't pay anything for, and it's a little sense of security. But I'm sure I got stuck with a bad GM, because my buddy, Mike Visor, whom I played with 2.5 years before he got traded to Peterborough for a Royal Cup, Wormy was his nickname. He runs an arena now in New Orleans.
Wow.
Two buddies, we contact one another. And he ended up going to the Blackhawks. And I said to him, we were talking after years, I said, Worm, what did you end up signing for? He went to the Hawks.
Dad, I don't know if he wants everybody to guess
Well,
what I mean.
I'm telling them, though.
I know, but I hope you're not going to say what he signed for, because, people don't want their
No,
name.
but this will give you an example of the times, Harry. Everyone knows what they signed for.
I don't know if they did, but I don't know if they did.
Well,
like that's a personal thing.
No,
like, you got to figure out a way to be not so personal.
Robinson,
right? Like Mike Robert Walton sucked. Like his kids could be listening.
But I mean, if it's in the database for like salary, Robinson's is there, 8,000 to play.
Okay, if
it's right there.
If it's in a database,
it's in a database. You can go in.
I guess. I don't
But
know
see what this is.
Got this.
But I know Worm. He'd have no problem with it.
Okay.
I know Worm.
All good. Carry on.
You guys are so entertaining. I can't even explain it, Junior. It's so entertaining watching this.
Maybe it's because I've got so much experience with it, but I figured out right off the bat, like don't connect like even some things that are like I don't even say Mondu and Savard and Jamers told me I'm going to be like because I don't know if they want to be connected to that. I did get I didn't do what they so there's a lot of things.
But that's a good thing though.
I know, but Dad, what I'm saying is that if someone tells me something, like I might say, well, you know what, at the draft, I mean, they were high on me. Like I was led to believe that going in, I was going to be given a shot rather than Serge Savard told me himself, because you're tying, like, there's no need. There's no need to be so specific.
Okay, I won't.
And people years later might, even if it was true, like, I don't know that I would want some teammates tying me to certain things in the room. Like, just maybe you can say, hey, this is what we did. But Thierry Ryan was, I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
Anyway,
fair enough. Fair enough.
It is fair enough. And Terry and Junior, the other thing is what I've noticed is since I've gotten into the podcast thing, and dude, like I'm striving to try to follow in your footsteps, right? You've probably learned so much though to do with this type of stuff. You have experience now doing shows, seeing how people react. You know what I mean? So you are extremely professional and proper. We're still learning the game, my man.
I'll tell you what. Well, I don't want to sound so pushy, but like this happened to me, and I embarrassed the guy. In my book, in the second book, just came out.
Excuse me, there's water on a duck's back, by the way. There's water on a duck's back.
Yeah, that's fine. So I put a story out in my second book, and it's the only one. It's called Lefty Fitzgibbons, because I once told the story. I won't even say where, because people will look. And I attached the guy's name to it, and he called me and he said, I'm a coach now. And he said, I don't know if I want people necessarily, and I live my life differently. And it was really funny, but he said, you could have said it without saying my name. And I said, you know what, you're right. And I should have thought about that. It was, I tricked him into doing a bunch of shooters and fuck with him at the draft. It was funny. And all I did was change this. And so maybe, I was like that too. I don't want to tell you what to do, but to me, a salary, it's great. I'd love to, I'm the other way. But, it was a big part of it. Maybe Mike Visor has reasons that he doesn't want to know his exact...
The reason why I throw mine out, I think people would be interested in finding out 50 years ago what was it like.
Yeah.
What
That's my
like?
personal
goes to
experience.
salary every time. I've never brought it up once.
People like to hear that, though.
I suppose. Yeah, I'm not saying I'm right.
It's a part of another age that this is the way it was. This is the way it is now. Wonderful. I'm so happy for the kids now. I don't once say, oh, I wish I'd not once. It is what it is and was what it was, and I hope that they make, $1 trillion.
I'm not saying it's not interesting. Look, maybe
I'm trying to make the show interesting.
Yeah, maybe
I think people like that. If I was listening, I'd like to hear if someone was talking. Say, man, I remember we went in and we got 600. I'd love to hear that.
But I don't know if I went back and found out what Mark Hurley's package was in junior. And found out it was less than mine and start talking about it. Right? Maybe he doesn't want to know that, right? Maybe he doesn't want people to know, even though it was a fact, right? I don't know. But Mike Visor and I don't. So
yes, I know we're well.
Every time I drop in, you're like, oh, and then he said this specifically, and I'm like, Jesus.
Well,
like,
that's how I am. That's how I am.
Hey, but senior,
you keep doing it like that. Anyway.
All right.
It has been interesting because he has dropped in at certain times. But Junior, I'm telling you, it's been like we're going all over the place. The stories he's telling, he's keeping some of them very general, some of them are specific. But the point is I appreciate it. I appreciate it, Senior. So thank you. Now listen, I got you both together right now. So first of all, Junior, is everything closed now? Can I do a virtual handshake on this? On you buying this house, getting it?
Yeah, he's pumped.
Oh, yeah.
Handshake.
Oh, yes, you got it.
There you go.
Boom.
Yeah.
Congratulations, bro. You just closed on a house.
He was on his mind all day, and he wouldn't say anything.
it's a long story, but
Yeah.
it means a lot to me. But
Yeah.
I'll tell you something, Sean. When I was growing up, there was a guy that, well, up until about a year ago, he's a legend in Mount Pearl. Okay, he's a legend. He was the Zamboni driver, right back when my dad's team won the Atlantics and everything else. And
He got featured in Hockey Night in
junior, he was
Canada.
featured on Hockey Night in Canada. If you were to think Mount Pearl, and of all things, that's the kind of town it is, I guess. But he was one of the most famous residents as the Zamboni driver, the rink attendant. And his name is Tony Fonspaulo. So I've known him for a long time. They're really close to the family for years, let alone at the rink and everything and all the relationship that we had. Well, he had a stroke a little over a year ago, maybe two.
Yeah.
And anyway, we raised money and everything. And so through the jigs and the reels, without getting real specific, Penny Lane and I, my daughter, would walk by and we'd go up and he'd have a fire in the backyard and we'd have a yarn and he'd have a beer and I'd go on and we'd talk about old school Mount Pearl and like right up until 2 years ago when this happened to him. So the house that we're buying is his old place. So it meant a lot to me to get that for more than one reason, but he's a big, I would go as far as to say this. He's definitely part of, he's definitely part of the reason that I became I don't know how good, but he would often let us on it. Once that I became a good player, I'm rambling. Once the rink would be rented, and if the last rental, say, was 11 to 12, then he'd, with a wink and a nod, say, here, boys, like, you guys can stay. I'm out of here at 3 a.m. I didn't tell you to come on, but here. And we ended up having the best team because we would want to play free hockey for
all night.
For at least an hour or two on 3 nights a week. If it was a day, then it really meant a lot. And we got to know him really well. And then as time went on, we would go and watch the games with him, whatever it might be. And we grew into senior hockey players and coaches and pro players and whatever it would be. And that was like a rite of passage in Mount Pearl, was like, get Fonz, in the room. And
Fonz never forgot you, though. Old Fonz never forgot you.
It's great. So it meant a lot to get that specific place in Mount Pearl because it meant a lot. So,
Sheriff, where are you talking of now? Toronto?
Yeah, so I'm doing my recording from my mother's house. She's actually going to come in and say hello. She
Where is it?
to speak to Junior last time as well. Yeah, Scarborough, Ontario, a suburb of Toronto.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yes, yeah. Well, it's Mount Pearl and St. John's.
So listen. Say that one more time, Senior.
If you picture Mount Pearl, it's like Scarborough and Toronto. Same thing. Like Mount Pearl, if you were driving from St. John's, yeah.
There you go.
There it is.
I'm listening, buddy. Keep going.
There you go. Well, if you were driving St. John's, you could be in Mount Pearl without even knowing. It's like an extension, but it's our own. It's our own city. We call it. It's like Scarborough is a city in itself, but it's part of Toronto.
Yeah.
Like Mount Pearl, you wouldn't know the difference if you drove into Mount Pearl and St. John's. You're thinking, well, we're in St. John's. So that's to give you an idea. But I thought you might think that we're like totally 10 miles away from St. John's, or no, we're not part of it, but you wouldn't know the difference if you drove into it.
So, Senior, another question I had for you, buddy, is now I know recently you got to go to Vegas with Junior for the Spittin' Chicklets ball hockey tournament extravaganza. Dude, I was so entertained watching some of those videos of you guys getting there and everything. Yeah. Like, do you guys see any other father-son combos like this? Like,
no, I think right now that's what endears us a lot to them, because I know one guy came over and that's on the production, and he said, I can't believe how close you are. Father, son, he said, there's a lot of, and we are, and that endears us to them, on top of the fact that he played, but I did play too.
The thing is, around here too, and amateur sports are big in Newfoundland, right? Amateur sports are big. So when we both retired and came back, we played. So there's a crossover. Like, there's some of my friends like Darren Coburn and Mike O'Neill that are 10 and 12 years older than me, well, close to. But they played with both of us, right? And whether it was baseball, even Senior was on the, 1 year made the national team, really. I mean, the All-Star team at the Nationals. And, you know, and locally, one of the best baseball players that has ever come from Newfoundland. So there's that crowd. And I played baseball, but I played. And so I'm not a Hall of Famer, but I was an all-star, right? I could play. And that's a big part of the summers for us, as much as hockey. So, you know, there's a big crossover. So, like, we have a lot of the same friends, and the situations have presented themselves, and we've chosen the same path. So it is father-son, but I don't think in the traditional sense that you would think it all the time. You know, Senior was playing on my roller hockey team.
Yeah, it's like when we were out there, it's like, because I played pro and Terry played pro, it's like I was one of them. They don't look upon me as being Terry's dad. You know, it's just like they're just Senior, even though they know I am. But it's in a much. I'm one of them. I'm one of them. You know, they don't. It's not like, and I'm old, obviously a lot older. I'm 69, and they're not. You know, Biz is in probably late 30s and whatever. But I just get along with them. You know,
that's specifically Chicklets. I was talking about like growing, like not just growing up, just our life here. Like when I played on,
your buddies you bring here. That's why we a lot of them would come in. We have a beer here after a hockey game, after a baseball game, and so I know all the boys who are his age. You know,
let's say I played on the Maple Leafs here in 99, 2000. So I would
St. John's,
22, 23, and that's when I was getting to know Sean Thornton. A lot of guys from the O, Pepperall, DJ Smith, those guys.
DJ Smith was in here all the time.
So we would hang out with them. But, you know, there were guys, Trent Samwith was 31. Well, Senior was like 45.
Yeah.
So, like, he would hang out with us. But now I'm 45 now. So at the time, I mean, it didn't really feel odd. But I was like, hey, for an old guy, like Senior, but I mean, I'm that age now. So,
yes.
Yeah.
And, you know, so there was, you know, I don't think it was ever mistaken that Senior was my father and a father figure, but he would hang out with us in ways that most parents don't.
Yeah,
and that goes for my mom too, though. Everybody comes, you know, when we're here, Mom is always here. There hasn't been one Friday that we speak of ever, and I mean ever, that she hasn't been here. I think part of that is planned.
And your mother's name again, Terry?
Gail.
Your mother's name?
Gail.
And I mean,
did she ever put up a lot with you guys?
The big Chiclet guys come up and they get to know Gail so easy to get to know. They'll come up and they'll say,
Mom, come say hi.
They'll say, geez, Gail, how do you take care of those two? And she hits it off like that. You mentioned Gail now, and the boys all know her. Gail.
Oh, you know what? She just stepped out.
Oh, okay.
Mom, you here?
Hey, okay.
It's just that we come down.
I got two more things I want to.
Yeah, I got to take.
I got two more things I want to get while I have you guys both. Okay. Right. Now, the first thing is what we just mentioned. This Friday night, cultural, historic thing that goes on in this room. Please explain. When did that start, Senior?
I have to quickly explain my version because I remember it more vividly than you do.
Yeah, when did it start?
Only because of the circumstance, me being a kid, right? And I joke with him. He tells a good story, but I know that you're not going to remember the start of it. So at the very start, I know you remember because Dad came home. This is my version. You came home from pro hockey and everything, and you were immersed into a life that was a little bit different, adjusting to quitting. The pro game is a little tough. And, so he was playing senior hockey, senior baseball, boozing a lot with the boys. This is what I remember. My parents got separated when I was 7 years old. I remember you saying to Mom specifically, I want one night a week, and I can even stay in. I just want to have beers, listen to music, watch hockey fights, whatever. I just want one night a week. So when he said that, now again, I'm 7 turning 8. The dad was starting to coach, like just done playing, still playing baseball, but coaching like senior hockey and junior hockey. So word got out that it was Fridays, so people would end up coming in here and playing records and stuff. That's when me and my buddies were coming on the scene, and they would say, 8, 9, 10, 11, you guys can play some tunes over there. So we would look forward to Fridays. We wouldn't be drinking, obviously we're that young, but we would come down. My best buddies, Jeremy Charles, who's a major chef now, Gary Clark, Mike Smith, I can go down the list. We would all come down here. So we have a great sense of music because he's got a huge collection. And we would just do that. And then when we became like 14, 15, to be honest, it was like, I don't know if you remember this. My mom was running our Pee-wee and then Bantam baseball and stuff, or helping to. So he's, people were drinking. So he's like, they can drink 6 in the basement with us, but we're not going to let them go anywhere. Or, they're probably going to go in the woods somewhere up there and get shit faced or whatever they're going to do.
No,
I'd rather
no,
do it here.
But you weren't drinking here at 14, 15.
No,
though,
15.
Terry.
Dad, I was away. Yes, I was. I know you don't want to say that,
No,
but
you might
it's a
have
different
been.
time. But I went away to play junior. I
Yeah,
came
you might
back.
have
I mean,
been, yeah.
I remember you even saying
I wasn't promoting it though. I'll tell
You
you
weren't.
that.
You were just like you weren't. Like and we knew though the difference. Like we didn't leave here.
No,
we,
you're right.
We appreciated the
No, you're right.
respect.
I know what you're saying.
So
yeah.
we were over there.
Yeah, I'd rather you have a beer here
Yeah,
than.
I had
yeah.
buddies going up to play junior 15 and 16.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
That was the thing too, right? So I remember it specifically, and then it just became a Friday thing. Then we became friends with Ron McLean, and they featured on Hockey Night in Canada.
But as you got older too,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden you're 21, 22,
Yeah.
then they all the boys started coming.
But not only that, as I go even now, like we had Kyle McGraw, the
Yes.
young up and comer who played in the Q, just got a scholarship to St. Mary's. They were in a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Manny O'Leary, like I'm not going to say like a rite of passage in Mount Pearl itself, but definitely to the hockey players, this is somewhere that everybody comes to see once, kind of thing. When you're getting I'm playing my last year of senior hockey because I've been so busy. I left to do Shoresy. I played one game at the beginning. I just went back I'm getting my games in this weekend, get 3 games in, see what happens. The Herder's a big deal here. The Newfoundland, so I'm going to play. But first thing I went in there's a few guys that just started this year. They're like, hey, T, like, when are we going to get to come in and see the basement? That sort of thing. So
Wow.
into that.
Okay.
And they know it's a Friday thing. So Friday just became Friday at TR's.
Sheriff, when like McLean or Ken Reed or I remember L.I. Frady came in, Chris Nye. Oh yeah, a lot of the boys when they come through under what do you call that tour, Terry?
We do alumni.
The alumni tours, the NHL.
The boys.
Yeah.
Come
So
out
I
and
always
base,
go out
you've
Friday
seen
with
them.
them, get hammered Friday nights with them, and so a lot of them will come in, just sit down in the afternoon. Usually they'll go off at night.
Now Biz knows this. So yeah, there you go. There's some nice focus.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I want to start.
What's your name again, Miss McMorrow? I forget.
Sheila.
Sheila.
I want to hear about the music, Ter.
You asked me about the Newfie Bullet last time, right?
Absolutely.
No, that she wrote on it, but
I wrote on
that's
it.
what she
I'm
was
not
telling.
asking about it. I want to tell you about it.
I thought that should have been the name of the pro hockey team here, by the way. For every single time, and the junior team, and it's been the St. John's Maple Leafs. Actually, I like that. I love teams that share the same name as the big team. It makes it feel like a big family. I feel like way more of a Canadian than if I was on the Hamilton Bulldogs for 3 years. But we went to the Newfoundland Fog Devils. Now it's the Newfoundland Growlers. We had the Ice Caps, and I don't know why they haven't come up with the Newfie Bullets. It makes no
Man,
sense.
when were you on the Newfie Bullet?
The last year it ran.
Oh my God! So
I know, my dear. I came right through the backyard at Mount Pearl.
yeah,
Yes, that's in our.
It is. It's
Senior?
right
Hello.
from my deck. That where the train tracks are, all the way down. That's my property now.
Right, our property ends
Goes
on those
right
tracks.
through.
That we're looking. Now it's a walking path.
It's
And
a walking
The
path.
places I just told you about, same thing, up the road. But
Yeah,
said in the backyard is woods,
Well,
and
where-
it's just the old
Where
path.
were you coming from? Like,
I was coming from Port Basque.
oh
And
my
I was
God, you
going
came
to
from
St.
the
John's. Yes, my dear. And I rode the rails the whole way. Yep.
That's a long. That's 600 miles.
Hello.
Fun.
And it wasn't warm. It was the end of August and it was already
Come
cold.
across. What time of year?
August, end of August.
No, it cools then. It does. Yeah,
It was very cool.
it is. At night here, when you're Newfoundlander, you know it. But
Yeah.
we get July will be June. No, July will be what everyone
Summer.
gets warm. But in August, like for example, if you're going to go downtown here and have beer, whatever, you put on a sweater or a light jacket
Yeah.
at night. Yes, you got that down.
But the year before that, Mr. Ryan, I was at the Isle of Wight, and I hear you're a music fan.
Yes.
So I saw Jimi Hendrix in his last concert.
Oh my! I got
Oh my God, listen,
I got the videos of it. You saw Hendrix.
I was there.
How did
Janis
Oh,
Joplin,
Yes.
Sly and the Family Stones, Joan Baez,
My God.
So how did
everybody.
you just go to Woodstock and like tour the world as a hippie after that? Like what happened?
Yeah, hello.
The Isle of Wight is off
I
the
like-
coast of England, right?
I wish
The
I
Isle of
got
Wight is on the south of England. I came from Ireland over to the Isle of Wight to go to the concert.
Oh my God! Oh my
I
God!
know.
What stories I have with you?
No, listen, I have to come to the basement. I have to come to the basement because this does not do it justice to talk over the internet.
Now, you lived all. Who was the best of that? Who was the best act that you saw that weekend?
Oh,
Who lived
God.
up to the billing?
Oh, well, I thought Jimi Hendrix was incredible. I could not believe the guitar. I just, it was just too much. It was too much to
Janis
take in.
Joplin at that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Janis
Yeah.
Joplin. I think that was her coming out.
Well, no, I mean, it was
Monterey.
around that time, but the Birds were there and the everybody,
Oh,
you would know every
that's-
single band.
You got stories for the ages right there. Do I envy you?
I know, and so does everybody else in Scarborough.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, at some point, we'll come to Newfoundland, we'll come to the basement, and I'll tell you the real stories.
You guys could.
And you even pronounce it right. You said Newfoundland. Wow, that's
Oh
impressive.
my God, yes, my dear, I was going to nurse on Photo Island, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Good.
some serious stuff. You've been like a lot of Newfoundlanders haven't even been to
I've
Fogo.
never been to Fogo.
You know what's funny?
Never been there.
We were talking about alumni. So I'd only been there for the first time. I've been close to there, and there's
Right.
Fogo. You know, you got to get a ferry, and
Yeah.
it's a bigger area than you think. Not well populated, as you know, but you know,
Exactly.
there's all kinds of ways you could go with that. But anyway, Fogo itself, we went in for an NHL alumni tour. I didn't even, they called me last minute, and I wasn't getting the emails. They were going to my junk, and it was Al Iafredi. And he said,
No way.
to get you. And I'd never met Wendell Clark, so it was wicked. We went out, and Colton Orr just retired. This was, I guess, right before the pandemic, maybe a year. And we went out and did a tour of Newfoundland with legends. Like, it's one thing to see those places, but I was saying to them, I'm like, most places in Newfoundland, we went to Marystown, we went to Corner Brook. I take them around, or Labrador, but I'd never been there myself.
No, that's
So
true.
what a time we had.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
went to the
I bet.
Legion and tied one on with just a bunch of locals with Wendell Clark. It's one time that I was just mute. I didn't say anything. I was just listening to Wendell Clark the whole
I
time.
bet, yeah, sure.
But it was wicked. What a time.
But what brought you to Newfoundland? You did the whole right
Because
across.
I just wanted to see it.
Wow.
I just wanted
Like,
to, I heard so much about it.
You would have gone right through my hometown too. Grandpa,
did.
right through to Bishops.
Yeah,
My God. And were you impressed?
I was very impressed.
Because
I had the time of my life.
tough, right? St. John's. Now, if you came to St. John's, that'd be like going to, Oshawa, anywhere in Canada. It's a city, it's an old city. But now, outside of St. John's, you got the biggest city is probably Corner Brook with 20,000. Then you've got Grand Falls 10, and then you've got 800. Like when you go around the bays, it's like you might have.
Yeah, and what about Bonavista?
Places of 200 people.
I know Bonavista didn't have that many.
I've never been to Bonavista.
Well, I gotta take you around. I'll take you on the
Bonavista would
Morrow
probably be
tour.
like in the top 15,
There you
Yes,
have it.
yes.
right?
Never been there.
Yeah, guys, this is priceless. You see how I just shut right up. I'm like, hey man, this is my show. I'm just gonna let them go.
Said the Isle of Wight and all these groups, man. I mean,
Oh,
she's obviously very into music as I am, and she
Yeah.
saw them. Now I can name some.
Do that,
No,
Jesus,
I
we'll
won't.
be here for 14
No,
more
I
days.
won't. I won't.
Not
But
hours.
I would see them all. Oh, these are the greatest acts on one bill.
I
On one
know.
bill.
I know.
Wow.
Hey, so Terry.
All right.
Hey, Terry. So sorry, Mom. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I gotta go. I got a nursing call, but you guys carry on.
Very unique show today, ATR.
Bye. Bye, guys.
Nice meeting you, Sheila.
Yeah,
Hey.
it's always nice to see Sheila.
Yes. No, guys.
I did his show a few
Oh,
months
okay,
ago while I
okay.
was in.
Oh, yeah.
doing show.
All
Hey,
right.
that
Hey.
Buffalo jersey behind you, is that the one that you wore? Like, was it that colors or was it the old school?
That's my draft jersey back in
Oh,
2000. That was
You skated out to play for the Sabres, like, because the Sabres have more. I don't even know what their jersey is anymore. I mean, I love their old school. That was, but some years they'd wear like both. You know what I mean? So what?
Yeah.
When
Well,
whole stick. Show to him.
what?
Yeah. The red, black, and white is when I was there. Like was their jersey. Now they went back to the original blue, white, and gold
And
with
for a
the
few
other
years,
saber.
They would wear both. They would some nights they would come out with that red and black one on,
Yeah,
and then
but
I guess so did the Canucks at the time. I mean, and they ended up going with their retro. Yeah.
yeah.
Cheryl, here's the
Hey,
best
Dad, you can't see.
souvenir I got.
He's got another
Oh,
question.
you can't see it? There's Bobby
Oh,
Hope's stick.
the hockey stick. Yeah. Where's
Look at the
that
hook.
from, Senior?
No one asked. Look at the hook.
Look at the hook.
Oh my God, that's
Got lost
Hey.
in we had just played him in Winnipeg. I went over and got it. Unreal. You couldn't believe
wow.
it. That's the best I got.
One more.
Yeah. Here.
Hey guys, the last Terry, the last thing I wanted to ask before we went is now we were just talking about way back in the day in Newfoundland, the Bullet. Great. I love history. Great time. Let's go to 2022 in Sudbury. Can we talk about this new show a little bit, or is it still?
I definitely talk about it. What I choose to talk about, some things I got to be tight-lipped. More pot stuff. Yeah, I can talk about that now, and I'd like to. I mean, I would assume they want me to promote it.
Yeah. Okay. So first off, I just want to point out to the listeners this all-star lineup that's on the show. All stars to me, anyway. John Nasty Morasti, huge character, really good buddy of mine. All the Nolans, Brandon, and all of them. Okay. So then we got Jonathan. Jordan and Brandon, or is it just Jordan?
Brandon and Nasty play in the show. I don't mind. So they're a unit. They're a line. Three of their names are Jim. I can say that, and they play on they're on our team, and their characters as am I.
Okay, so now what about the legend Joe Dolo, Jonathan Diaby from Montreal, Quebec?
So in this world, Shorzy never wants to lose another game of senior hockey again. So he leaves from Letterkenny to go to Sudbury. Well, I mean, Letterkenny's filmed in Sudbury, as you know, but in this world, it actually is Sudbury. So I don't want to give away what happens with the team or anything, but we're recruits from all over Canada that know Shorzy from some avenue or another, and we're basically brought in to help him win. So, and amongst other things, but to definitely improve the team, and he doesn't want to lose again. And so Joe Dolo and I hadn't known him before. I knew of him, and I still say he was a great NHL prospect, and I'm surprised he didn't get any games a better look, which is with that size and that mobility. And he's tough. But anyway, yeah, so I don't want to give away too much, but he's in it a lot with me. A lot of my him and I are really close on the team, and I guess I think, I don't know, I haven't seen any of it yet, but I like doing the scenes. I think it gave way for good humor for a Newfoundland, and his lines are in French, a lot of them, not all of them, but he speaks both. So he will often out some French, and combined with Newfoundland English, it's often grounds for miscommunication. But he's my buddy, and I don't want to get into it, but yeah, I mean, Letterkenny plays off stereotypes, and this Shorzy definitely, there's a lot that hockey players will like that is both a throwback, a nod to the past, and definitely an avenue, a path to the future. I think, tries to combine everything that that hockey traditionalists would like, while attempting to infuse, a little bit of culture that the new kids and the new age fans will definitely dig.
Wow. When does it premiere?
So it's going to be on Crave and Hulu. Hulu's the partner in the United States. So it's going to be sometime in the playoffs. They don't know exactly. I think it really comes down to, it's up to Bell Media. And, I'm sure, I've worked on shows before, and it's not easy to finish them in December and then have it ready for early spring. I mean, there's a post-production process, and everything from editing is there's a lot that falls under that umbrella, right? So I'm sure they're going as fast as they can. They seem very excited about it. It won't come out any later than the spring, but I don't know exactly when. But the way I'm led to believe, it's going to be timed pretty well with the NHL playoffs, and we're hoping we're going to get a bit of a kickback from that.
Man, that commercial.
What's that?
That commercial that you guys have for Shoresy, that's one of the coolest commercials I've ever seen.
I honestly
incredible.
Seen your 3 days before because I didn't know. And trust me, I want to say a lot more, but even before this, I had to bottle most of this up. I got a call in June, and I knew that I was going to be this character. Ted Hitchcock is my name in the show. Hitch, and you know, I know the business, and it's to get an opportunity like that. It fell out of the sky. I know I've been working hard, but it was a unique opportunity. And just Jared Kiesel is a great guy, and when we all got up there again. I have no idea what it's going to look when I'm here, and there's studios in Newfoundland. Like I more than can someone can more than make a living here, make a comfortable living. I do some crew, I do some acting, I do stunts, but other than one time, I've never been really recruited to leave, and they want my character without having to audition, right? So I was like, geez, this is going to be interesting.
That's so cool, dude.
Out here, yeah, I go over, you'll watch it. I'll watch the playback on the monitor. So I see exactly, I know Hudson and Rex say I'm on there a lot doing stunts. I kind of know, but I have no idea. We did the scenes and they were in the bag, and I'm kind of nervous, but it felt great because we all were, it did feel like a team. If there's ever a version of art imitating life, as they say, this was the coolest version of it because we were hockey players. A lot of the time, the first 3 weeks we were there, it was the hockey scenes. So we were all in a dressing room, okay? We were all sharing hockey stories, right? We were taping our sticks. We'd go out there and do these scenes. I mean, a lot of it was choreographed. Some of it wasn't. I mean, I'm not going to go into that, but there's chirps, there's actual hockey, there's dressing room scenes. So we had to be in there for like some days 12 and 15 hours in the dressing room sitting there. So wow. We did come pretty tight, and although I respect Matt Nasty Morasti and I love him now, I didn't know him then. The Jordan Nolan got fucking 3 Stanley Cups.
Yeah.
And I want to hear these stories. So we were at so they'd go cut, and then we go okay, and we just go around, get your popcorn. Let's hear Jordan talk about the NHL play.
Yeah.
Playoffs. Or Tassia Telez, who plays a role. She's in the 100. She's got like 1 million social media or Instagram followers. So. A huge worldwide following that I wasn't really aware of. I mean, I was aware of the show. I saw some episodes, but she, for example, could tell stories about, going from from a modest start on social media and acting and everything to just overnight going to 1 million followers and being this role model for women and men, but, a lot of young women all over, my daughter included. So, everybody seemed to have a story. Ryan McDonald was sitting next to me. He's in Battlestar Galactica. So, I was getting him going about that. So it was, other than like having to go out on the road and actually play hockey against teams, the experience was real similar to being on a team that you just love to be on. And, it wasn't easy. Well, I'd done some acting, and stunts. I was pretty comfortable. I knew the terms, but the boys didn't. A lot of them just came in, so, they might ask me something, and, even in my status, but I've been at it a few years, but some people like Jared, write, produce, direct, I haven't done that. So I was learning from him, and they were learning from me, and it was just this wild, symbiotic relationship. Everybody involved, and the crew and the cast all stayed in the same hotel, which I've never seen. So, after when it was all said and done, and our weekend was Friday, Saturday, we'd have beers together and have chats together, and it was a real community feeling. So I hope it does well because they're great people to work with.
Yeah, dude. I mean, and thank you for sharing that, Terry. But like, I hope it goes well because I love everyone that's involved with it, man. Like I said, it's an all-star cast to me, and I'm so happy that I can't wait till the playoffs start because you said it's going to be released sometime in the playoffs.
It is. We got 6 episodes coming, and then knock on wood, we take this thing into the future. I know that the people involved are really excited about it. And, a lot of people don't realize Jared Kiesel, who plays Wayne, the creator of Letterkenny, one of them, the main one, it was his baby. he played junior A. He was good. He tells me, he said, up until I was 18, I fully believed I was going to go and play hockey somewhere. So,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that from a perspective that he's reliving his dream. I'm saying he knew what he was talking about. When we went out there to do the scenes, like his trips and everything, they don't come from nowhere. If you play 3 years of junior A hockey and a year of junior B and midget AAA, you've got an idea. Like, it's all relative. You know what I mean? Like my dressing room there was no different than the dressing room in the NHL when it came to like camaraderie and chirps. Okay, it's a little different. We're having scotch and soda and, smoking cohibas as opposed to natural lights and a chew on the back of the bus. But everything else is the same. And Jared has a great grasp on the culture of the game.
Yes.
Well, he played Don Cherry, so he has a great grasp on that. I would even argue as much or more than any pro because he played and he studied it. And I'm going, I'll often go, geez, Jared, where'd you come up with that? He's like, well, I listened to all the podcasts, including yours, Sheriff. I'm not lying. And
I appreciate that.
And he's a fascination with the game. He studies it. Like he'll tell you stats from 1950s, and and he's got a soundtrack in his mind. He's a big music fan, and he's into Chemical Brothers and a lot of Canadian stuff that I didn't really know until I met him. I said that because I like them too, and we have a lot of similarities that I didn't realize. While he's watching it, he's thinking, what song can I put into this scene, and what legend did it this way? So his knowledge of music, Canadiana, and hockey is so large that each scene incorporates almost all of it. It's wild. It really is wild.
Yeah. Wow, dude. And trust me, I really appreciate that. Now, guys, before we finish here, and I have to thank both of you because I know we've gone way over the time limit. I've been spoiled.
It's a pleasure. I hope I didn't embarrass you by like tearing shit.
I'm not sitting on you. Keep you in line.
Hey, I'm happy anytime I'll be on.
Hey, listen, you were a godsend for me. Your stories are so awesome, Senior. You're in the very, very good books. Your son is a natural entertainer. He's teasing you as entertainment, and I absolutely love it. I love it. It's so entertaining.
Sheriff, this happens every time.
Water on a duck's back.
I mean, it's a catch-22 because if Senior didn't tell those stories, he never would have gotten brought to Vegas, and you did entertain every single person there. Like there was nobody that came across our team, the Big Deal Selects, and didn't have a good time. I'm very aware it's largely due to the guidance from Senior.
Yeah, no, of course. Now, guys, before we go, hockey is a sport where the dads take a really big role in, like, minor hockey, the kids growing up and whatever. We've all seen dads that have completely, like, killed their kid's career. If it's, like, putting the expectations way too high, putting too much pressure on them. What advice, like, you guys are both dads now.
First of all,
what advice do you have for the dads right now that have those kids at the junior age or even Bantam age? Like, what advice do you have for them to let them thrive?
You finish it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because all I can say is that with him, and I will give him props for this, there was, like, when I say none of it, I mean absolutely none. The big year I had, like, we were coming out, I mean, I think second year Adam, first year Pee Wee, you could definitely, I mean, I know I led my team and we won pretty handily in scoring, but there were some other players in the league that were, but I was a year young. My second year Pee Wee, we went to the Quebec Pee Wee tournament. I ripped it. Like, I started to see when I left the island. It's one thing to get him against Grand Falls, get your points. Nothing against Grand Falls, but it's the reason I often talk about we don't have, the baseball. It hits a certain level, and then it's hard to get better when you're not hitting better pitching all the time, right? So it's like that.
Yeah.
When it comes to hockey, so but second year Pee Wee, we went to 3 tournaments, one in Labrador, then one in Halifax, the Hostess Cup, and one in Quebec. And I ripped it here and I ripped it there, and we had a great team anyway. But that year there was all kind, like, we were in the provincial final, and place was packed, and word was starting to get out, and I was really big for my size. I'll never forget it. I forgive the people now, but everybody, and it was probably the Skeets, and it couldn't have been everybody. It couldn't have been, but it sounded like it was. I got a penalty shot, and the whole rink started to go, asshole,
No way.
Oh, I mean it. It was packed. People would come to see me. They wanted me to lose. Not
Yeah.
every Mount Pearl would support me now, and now when I left, it turned. So Newfoundlanders have really supported me. I don't want to say that that's part of the reason that I'm on this show and everything else. But I'm telling you, at the time, I pissed a lot of people. People didn't know. I also, it was hard to be in my own skin because I would be pumped. I'm the kind of guy that's passionate. So I would score and go by the bench and do a celly, but I was just emulating Tiger Williams or Steve Yzerman. But it made it 8-0, and hey, that's not cool. So I would leave the rink and get in like fist fights at the fair, like all the time. Like so. There was an anti movement for my career that at the time than there was support, and no one knew how to take it, and that really it could throw me off. So I believe, Senior, you came to like 5 games that whole year.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I wore that. Like that happened, and I find it ended, and I'm like, I got to be a man, and like I never really openly let it bother me, but Senior didn't give that opportunity from his level because he's like, hey, I'm not going to push you. Clearly, like he'd come to one game once in a while and go, we got to figure out a plan,
Yeah.
you know. And I remember Yale called.
I'd only go to the games.
Yeah.
I didn't want to.
If I asked him, he'd go.
If I didn't want to put any pressure on him, because I knew number one, he's going to have to live. Because I was in Newfoundland, my generation. I didn't want to put any pressure on him. I'd only go to the games. Never coached them. Never coached them. I'd only go to games that he'd ask me, Dad, if they were playing a good team that he's not going to get 10 goals against. He might say, Dad, you coming tonight? Then I go and I'd isolate myself.
Yeah,
By myself in the arena.
Wow.
And I'd just watch it.
And didn't want to be involved with any of
after
that.
the game, when he came home, I might say, well, Terry, look, when you came out of the corner at that time, you should have done this. I could give him professional tips.
And what you got to realize,
and that's all.
He was coaching the junior team.
Yes.
So I was
At this time?
At this time.
Yes.
And they not
Yes.
only that, they set the record as junior B, but they won the Atlantics.
We won
They
the
went
Atlantic
undefeated.
Championship. Couldn't go any
42-0.
further. Yeah.
So
Oh, wow.
I would all that would happen. He didn't really need to because I didn't care if he really saw me out there playing. I mean, I guess maybe I did. I can't speak myself.
No, but I
as
knew
a
how good he
14-year-old,
was going to
13-year-old.
be. I could see
But-
that.
So he would have practices. So then, combined with Fonts letting us on, they were often the last team anyway. So I would just go up and just sit there. And when he would explain the drills, I'd go like shoot it in the net and shoot. And then I'd just go to sit on the bench for a half hour if they were doing 3-on-2 breakout or something. And then I'd go back out. So I was seeing all of that. So it wasn't so much specific because I saw everything he was teaching the junior team. It did get specific sometimes. He'd be like, you can't cut to your strong side every time. You're doing it now because they're half your size. But, you got to learn to, and that was once in a blue moon. But see, this started to happen, right? So this is when I went to, I was a Pee-wee. This is right before Cornell. That's where Tri-City came. That's in the Vancouver Sun, right? Newfie Pee-wee, far from a joke. People started to come and see me.
That was the biggest tournament in Western Canada. 21 number ones came out of it, but Terry was the youngest there because he went out as a Pee-wee. It was the best Phantoms in Western Canada. But I took Terry basically not because I was being nepotistic, but he was just the best. So he went out and all of a sudden they realized this kid's a Pee-wee, and then he comes second in scoring, and that's when it all started to generate.
And when I went out, and so
that's when all the scouts descended on.
I would end up because Ginla and Redden, Colin McLaren, they were my age. But when I went into this thing again, I went with Newfoundland, and I made the team a year older than me. So when I went out and played in this and Tri-City, that's it. At first, it was Ron Toigo owned the team. I think he owns the Vancouver Giants. At least he did when they won the Mem Cup 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Him and Chico Resch was their coach. They took me out. And so I was playing this, and you know what solidified it? You know what solidified it, Sheriff? The last game, I got most promising player of the tournament. I got a ring still upstairs. I wear
beautiful.
It just like a champion. I still wear it.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So
it was big time tournament,
So, there's like Northeastern USA was there, Team Alberta, Team BC, and we didn't get. We went out as Newfoundland.
Normally we'd lose 20-1.
You're used
for Newfoundland.
when you come from Newfoundland and you're playing sports on a national level. And I've been there on ball hockey, soccer, baseball, and hockey. You usually play the host team, so they win the first game, and the full crowd gets a free hot dog. You know what I mean? You're always, but we played. We played Team BC, right in the Sun God Arena, and we lost 6-5.
Yes.
And all of a sudden,
Best
people
in
were like,
BC.
but no one knew us.
They couldn't
They
believe
knew
it.
everybody else,
Yeah.
right? And like I said, Iggy and them were in the division down.
Yes.
And we had 3. Kurt Walsh, who ended up going to Buffalo. Kurt Walsh
Yeah.
played just before you in the OHL.
Yep.
Went to Buffalo. He was on that team. He was my age, a year young, but he was a great player too.
Yeah.
And a guy, Brian Bursey, and we went out and like we were hanging. So like then there was Justin Cook. I could go down, but there was probably 5 more that went and played junior A.
Yeah, I had a bunch of good players.
Dave Penny got a scholarship somewhere.
Yeah.
So that was it. But what set it off, and no one knew us. So we had scouts at every game because everybody else had been scouting Western Canada.
Yes.
Right?
Except for you guys.
Yeah, except Newfoundland chooses to go to this state. So it was
But
wild.
after that first game, the BCL, and they were lucky to win. They were lucky to win.
We played Ryan Smith and the company that remember Southern Alberta because he was playing because he was from Banff or whatever. But and Lankow and Chris Dingman.
Chris Dingman won 2 cups.
Yeah, it was one game. It was 6-5, 6-5. We tied 1-6-6.
Yeah,
like that. One game we got blown out. The last game
Winnipeg
against Manitoba.
blew us out. That's when we were out. So no one cared.
Yes, but listen, this is what I said. What solidified it. So they're watching us now. I'm sure they were creaming their pants watching all of us, like, and not having known. And I'm going out there, and that's Tri-City had to get this deal done. But I didn't hear from them again till after the last game. Now, we lost 10-1.
Yes.
But we went out, first night ever, I've been out drinking with the boys. We were out there, and we were all from different parts of town or Newfoundland playing together. And, you know, you're 14, they were 15. Coming of age.
Well, we had like 3 guys out too.
So,
we were short.
No, we did. But what I'm saying is that
the
night before we all got together, we were out anyway. Yeah. So we all went out. We snuck into a strip club, had like 2 beers each. But it was fun to get everybody together, right? So we go to the rink the next day. I'm not saying that had anything to do with it, but Manitoba were flying there, and they had Michael Leclerc, Dorian Anik, I don't think Lonnie Bahamas, but they a bunch. Vern Beardy, they had a bunch of guys. Like they were a great team, and they were all, you know, fighting to get there. And we'd had our tournament. Anybody in our team had already kind of been approached. We were ecstatic just to be there. We're gonna spend some time together here, boys. So the game opens up.
That coach mocked us, Terry. The coach mocked us. I remember that.
Listen, before it's like 5-1, 6-1. So face off after a goal, and I just looked around, man. Looked at everybody, and they wanted to mix it up, and I took the face off, like, and I swear to God, I'm not a bird dog. I'm not dirty. I'm not. No. But for some reason, it was in my head. I'm like, and the guy was mocking me, like, you dumb noob. I say, you know what? Fuck you. And we had cages on. I cross-checked him right in the fucking cage, and it came line brawl. The only fights, and it was line brawl, Newfoundlanders, and we just went, and we only had about 11 players to begin with.
But 3 or 4 were injured.
Because they were hurt.
We're down to like 11.
To start the game. So anyway, we put it up, line brawl, and they came down. Remember, Bob Rouse was there for whatever reason.
Yes, Bob Rouse came in and spoke to us before the game.
He came in and he said, and after though, he came in and he goes, you guys lost, but that's big spunk. Yeah, and Tri-City came down and they're like, you got to get out here, like, fuck, sign this.
No, Terry about 10 did. I was starting to leave the bench. I got Victoria, Seattle, all in my hand. You know, I kids, bro, yeah. And I finally get down, and we're underway out. We just been eliminated. It's all right. And I see Toigo. I don't know who he is, but I recognize Chico Resch. Geez, I said, what's he doing here? And that's when Ron calls me over and says, Mr. Ron, okay, we'd like to talk to you about your son.
But anyway, just wait. Just wait. You're getting into it now.
Yeah.
That was earlier in the tournament. Yes, the last day. But
that was the last day, yeah.
What I'm saying is that it's funny because me and Brian Bursey, there was a bunch of us that...
He could have played too.
Yep, that got... Kurt was there. Like, I remember talking with him, and we felt really bad. We went in the room, like, not feeling good. Like, we're minor hockey players. If I'd done that here, it would, like, we would have been penalized. It would have been justified, and no one would have liked it. We were at this tournament. I think the parents here gave us a bit of a pass. It was a big boys tournament going into the dub or whatever, or college, but I don't think anybody was thinking that. So we came in kind of upset, but that's the ironic part is that's what did it. Like they were going, no, we love this. Yeah. And then I was like, and I remember you saying that's the Western Hockey League. That's the Western Hockey League. They're cool with you losing your temper once in a while. And we were like, what? Anyway, because we didn't know. I'm watching Eric Lindros a lot, but we got mostly Q games. And then they would show the odd game on TSN, but it was Oshawa Generals before us were like big. Rare that I ever watched a WHL game on TV.
Yeah.
I really didn't. Now every kid knows all the leagues, what they're all about.
Yeah.
I had no fucking idea. You could have told me,
No, yeah.
like Paul Correa, who's that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Until I went out there.
And then you ended up going, what was it, 3rd overall, Terry?
Yeah.
3rd overall to the Dub.
And they actually, I won't get into it all, but they made a trade because they told me they'd hide me. That was the thing to go to Quesnel, right? So I went out and I went to Quesnel, but when I made the junior team, there was a story on TSN.
Yeah.
And so then Brandon called. I'm not saying they were going to call me. They thought about it.
No,
Red Deer. It was Mike McBain, Wade Redden, and me, right? But
you were going number 1.
Dad, you're always worried
Well,
about money and number one.
But I
don't know if I was going number 1, and I don't know who was taking me. You know where I went? 3, which is so good.
Yeah.
It was a laugh. Yeah, I wasn't going
Simpson
number 1.
called me from
What I'm
Red
saying
Deer.
is that
That's all I'm saying.
Tri-City were
and
pick-
said we're taking them.
Okay, but you shouldn't really. Anyway, I'm gonna. The point is, Tri-City had the 16th or 17th pick,
And I'm glad you went there, yes.
and they traded up to get it. I know that much. But when I went out there, no, I didn't even know at that tournament that Tri-City were. I didn't even know what it was. I didn't know what the Tri-City Americans were. I never heard of it before. If you told me that I'd heard of like the Swift Current Broncos and all the teams, I wasn't an idiot. I collected hockey cards.
No, they were in the States too.
Yeah, but now you'd know Erie because of
now
like
you
Connor
would,
McDavid
of course you would.
or
Carey Price.
that example. But yeah, you know Tri-City.
Yes.
You know Spokane.
Yeah.
Chiefs. Everybody knows that now.
Yeah.
I know Spokane Chiefs.
Yeah.
You know.
The internet had a big part of that too, eh, guys?
Absolutely.
Like,
They almost
like, definitely. Guys, I've been absolutely spoiled today. I love this. This is by far my favorite episode. I've never been more entertained in a very, very long time, guys. I want to thank you guys both. Say it again, Senior. Say it again.
You said I've been spoiled today, and I said, and I hope I haven't spoiled it for you.
No, you spoiled me. This is incredible, Senior. I love it. I appreciate it so much.
I mean well anytime I'm interviewed.
Awesome. So, hey, listen, Senior, you tell those guys that Spittin' Chicklets, man, that I want to talk to those guys, okay? I want to talk to those guys.
They're the best guys. You can't believe it. I'm so happy.
Yeah, no, I'm a big Spittin' Chicklets fan. I'm a big fan, period, Senior.
Yeah.
Sheriff.
Sorry, Terry.
Duty calls, but listen to this. Buffalo is where we're going. Senior, I don't want to speak for everybody at Chicklets again, but I know that him and I will be at the Chicklets Cup in Buffalo. I think it's in July. If it's not July, it'll be June. There's a J there, and I had a few beers with me, but me and Biz talked last week. We're going to be there in Buffalo, which is, your old stomping grounds. So if like
that's
guys,
when you'll meet them.
Come on over. Come on over.
You're only an hour away, whatever. Oh yeah.
Hey, I appreciate it, but what I appreciate more, guys, is having Senior and Junior on my show. You guys have no idea. I want to thank the fans and the listeners for tuning into another episode of The Sheriff featuring the Ryans, which has been the most fun time, like I said, that I've had to date. So I want to thank you again, guys, and we're going to sign off now. Woo!